He's on. He's on.
25 million views, 100,000 supporters, strong army.
He's on.
All primed and ready to investigate any crime.
God.
Why not subscribe and become a member of our study group?
I just noticed that, the old black and white courthouse and his thing. Like a bullet on the road. No, Alan's not picking up any bullets.
We just try to solve crimes that need that little bit of help. Where the victim needs a voice and deserve a voice. The crimes...
Bit weird to say that about Nicola Bulley after her family spoke for her at the inquest, but...
We want to refocus their eyes. We want to help.
You're right, Andy.
The helpless.
The game, sorry, the question you asked about the game, sorry, I didn't notice, yeah. No, the game is an ongoing game, so they plan for a 4-year cycle, and instead of one game coming out, like, it used to be that one game you bought it on a hang on, here is Alan. I'll pause him for just a second. It used to be that you bought a game on like a disc, didn't you, or a cartridge. You played it, it was all on the disc. And then what started happening is you get downloadable content. So you get the disc and you play it and you play the whole game. And then you can buy some more game on the side, extra, off the internet. And then games started coming out on the internet like Fortnite. Yeah, and the game Fortnite just never ends, does it? It's just Fortnite over and over again. But they have seasons and different stuff happens and it's always on the internet. And Genshin Impact is like an extension of that. It's like a Netflix series that, you know, there's another series and another series. And so you play the game, it's live on the internet, it's an ongoing game on the internet. You can access it on iPad and all sorts of different things. You play the game like I do. And then when I've finished with this quest and all this going on, like there'll be a bit of a lull in proceedings and I'll have other events and things to do, and then the main story will pick up again in the next season, so to speak, when we go to the next place. And you have these big stories as you go to the new places, like seasons. And they've got, like I said, a 4-year cycle plan. So I think they've got in their mind where the big story is going for the whole cycle. But the game would be instead of doing like a game that would last you for 4 years on one disc, they just release it bit by bit on the internet, and it keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So new story players go right to the start and have loads to play through, and people that have been playing through it and got to the end of that have the new stuff, and there's always new stuff. So it's what we call an ongoing game, yeah. And it's free to play as well. It's free to play. They make fucking loads of money because of the gacha system. People who want to spend a bit extra can when they want to roll for these characters. But it is free to play, and you can do loads free. Like, I do all of it for free, essentially. There's nothing off limits to me on the game because I'm playing for free. It's just I don't get so many of the good characters. But yeah, Genshin Impact, ongoing game. Alan Vinicum, ongoing nonsense. So here we are then. Where's my clapperboard for doing the thing? Angry Alan's Nicola Bulley Club, take one.
Boys and girls, how are you? My name's Alan, I am the armchair detective.
You know, he started that there with boys and girls. I'm Alan. So he's not trying to infantilise his audience. What it is he's just been away. Like I said, I think he's been to see his son. You know, like some people have said, the bar. You know, hanging out with the boys. All right, boys, it's Alan back in the zone. You know, been out since. You know, had my little holidays, doing my drinking.
Well, I say boys and girls, most of you in your 60s. I know that because of demographics. I know how old you are, right? You are mainly between 46 and 68. I know that. One day I'll be 70. I'm dreading that. But better to be 70 than not be here, right? On the bright side. So, the heat wave goes on. I'm not going to talk about the heat wave. Get on with it. Get on with it, Eddie. Nicola Bulley. Behind closed doors. Facebook is the best way of explaining this here.
You know, he said, get on with it, AD. Yeah? So, obviously, someone's been in his ear. Don't do all this fucking talking at the start. He's obviously listened to me talking, telling him not to do it because it's stupid. And he's trying not to do it. So, again, I predict this isn't going to be much good for us.
Facebook is an open house. Look at my family. Look at my dinner. Look at my holiday. Look at my this. Look at my lovely husband. Look at my beautiful wife. Look at my lovely kids. Look at my life. Look at my car. Look at my smiling face.
Although Regardation Police can probably do a lot with this. He's a sinister man.
Well, if you close Facebook and it's not switched on, what goes on behind that closed door that slams shut when you get in?
What?
Well, we never know, do we? Unless you
What does that even mean?
become famous. Oh, armchair detective. I saw him with a girl. Armchair detective. He's this or he's that, right? That you become famous-ish. I know I have a little bit of what it's like. It's horrible. There's another way to be famous, and that's like
He's such a
being a victim of a murder or being involved in a missing person case or anything high profile makes you, it's not famous, is it? It's like
infamous.
high profile. Like you become high profile. Like Nicola Bulley became high profile.
So wait.
Want to be.
Right, so Nicola Bulley's not famous, but you are.
1 minute she's unknown, next minute everyone knows her name. 1 minute she's like in this little village, next minute she's on your TV. 1 minute you've never heard of the woman, next minute she feels like your sister. You feel you want to protect her. I want to protect her. What happened to her? Where did she go?
You want to protect her?
What about tonight, Nicola, the real Nicola?
What? No.
You saw
no, 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 no. No. Genshin Impact's gone quiet. I'm going to need some relaxing background music. He's not about to do what I think he's about to do, is he? I really can't have this. I played Nintendo the other day and it got come up with a copyright on one of the Nintendo songs. Unbelievable. He can't possibly, right? During the Nicola Bulley case, I was sent some stuff from her Facebook. I don't go on Facebook myself much at all. But I was sent some stuff from her Facebook through emails. I was on her Twitter. I examined her Twitter, who she was atted, who she was friends with, all this stuff. I examined it all. But I didn't bring it to the public attention. I didn't do an episode on it because it's just a little bit too far. Like, this was before we even knew what had happened to her, you know? So I just thought maybe it's a step too far at this stage. And then after we found out what happened to her, digging through her social media and putting it on my YouTube channel for views sounded like not up my street. Not up my street. Yeah. Like, I just definitely thought that was not a thing to do. But if Alan is going to now go through Nicola Bulley's Facebook, I will be appalled.
Present herself on Facebook with a dog. Happy as a sandboy, her and the dog all the time.
I mean, I might be wrong.
Didn't say much about her marriage, did she? Or her kids. Just pictures of her and the dog in the fields. I've seen all the pictures. Nicola Bulley with a dog. Nicola Bulley walking a dog. Nicola Bulley with a dog. Nicola Bulley with a dog in the sand. Nicola Bulley with a dog in the ball. Nicola Bulley with a dog. Nicola
Bulley with her husband at the pub. Nicola Bulley and her friends at the pub. Nicola, like, what are you on about? Like, there were loads of pictures of her with people, not just the dog.
What was predominantly at Nicola Bulley's mind? Her and the dog. Not her partner. Well, I don't blame her not showing the kids, but very few pictures other than her and the dog, right?
And the house and the Christmas tree. And where do you think we got all those pictures of Paul Ansell with Nicola Bulley for the media? Like, there were there was a series of pictures that were taken when she bought a new house with him, and they got the opportunity to have their photographs taken at a show home as part of a sort of Facebook promotion, which got them some extra money or something. So they had these photographs of them taken at the show home together. Like, what?
Did she close herself off from her family and friends? That's what I'm saying. Did she or not? Because nobody's talking, are they?
What?
Well, they did, didn't they? Her sister talked, didn't she? How at Christmas last year, she made a throwaway comment that she wanted to unalive herself. A throwaway comment. Didn't mean anything.
We're just dredging up bits and pieces now. Alan's got no plan and structure, and the photographs thing, there was one really important photograph which was used for the GoFundMe, which was Paul, and he it was Nicola Bulley and the children, and he photoshopped himself into the picture, like, or it was the other way around. It was a photograph of him and he photoshopped them into it, but that was weird. But like, what?
That same sister called the police to her sister's house, and it looked like to have her mentally checked over as well, right? Who does that to their sister? Everyone thought it was Paul. It wasn't Paul. Not only was it his sister, her sister stayed there a few days to calm her down and get her back to life and reality.
He's adding in things there. Her sister stayed a few days to calm her down and get her back to reality. You don't know that she was not calm and reality. You don't know why her sister stayed there. Like, to calm her down and get her back to reality. Alan's words that he's made up and added in.
I believe that Christmas caused a rift, sister to sister. I believe if you knew the truth.
Is it because of that picture where she's holding, like, there's a photograph and then she's got her arm around Paul, the sister? Are you now going to basically say the sister was shagging Paul at Christmas? Is that what you're saying?
Nicola didn't see much of her sister after that. Do you think? Read between the lines.
Read between the lines. So you're not going to tell us because you're a coward.
How much did Nicola's mum and dad know about the police visit? And her sister trying to get the police and health people around her house.
So now we're talking about Nikki's mum and dad.
So that's what we're looking at. I didn't know the answer because I wasn't there. Tonight's show is
I should have watched Eddie's recent video more thoroughly, because this might be stuff that Eddie's covered recently. That might be where he's getting this from.
About where she fell in.
I'm not saying that's what's going to happen.
What was her state of mind? I don't like the throwaway remark that she said she wanted to do away with herself. That's not a throwaway remark. That's a cry for help. But it was downgraded. But when you had that and that police health check to the police being dragged out to say that she had trouble with the menopause and she had trouble with drink and a few other things. I guess what I'm saying is, the truth is, they weren't all on good terms. And there's a lot more going on behind closed doors than we were ever told. And I don't believe my mum and dad knew everything. There you go, I said it. Now, the police watchdog launched an investigation after an officer conducted a welfare check at Nicola Police family home days before she went missing. The independent officer of police conduct said it was notified that an officer from Lancashire Police visited the address January the 10th. Well, that wasn't long before she was no longer with us. Coincidence? I don't like coincidences. I don't believe this is a coincidence. I believe this is part of the story. When you can say, hey, you're wrong, well, that's up to you. I believe it's part of the story.
No one said it's a coincidence. It's in the fucking files because it's come throughout in the fucking inquest because it's part of the story.
Confirming the investigation, a spokesman for the IOPC said, following a referral by Lancashire Police on Thursday, we have started an independent investigation regarding the contact the force had with Nicola Bulley on January the 10th this year.
We did an episode on this investigation.
We were notified the force and an officer that attended the family home on that date as part of a welfare check. Now, unfortunately, the police officer who attended the home, who has since reported his body cam was not working.
We've done this in an episode. IOPCC report, Nicola Bulley. It's on Super Chuffer.
Or not switched on. Right, it wasn't switched on. Probably working, just tested every day. His body camera wasn't switched on, and I asked you why. Was it really switched on and they're not showing us, or did he forget to switch it on? Or was it, get my glasses straight, faulty? Was it faulty? Not working? Same thing. Was it?
It wasn't switched on. It was in the report. And the reason is because some things for this... Well, actually, there's me putting words in, actually. I shouldn't say. I believed the reason was that some things are treated with some sensitivity. But the body cam should have been on.
Faulty, not switched on, or they're not going to show us? I want you to answer me, study group. Nicola Bulley study group, welcome. Do you think, in this highfalutin report, where police are known to do things, I'll talk to you about it in a second, do you think the camera was not working, was not switched on, or they have no intention of showing us the body cam, which they do have?
The answer is that it wasn't switched on.
Not working, not switched on, or they're not showing us. What do you think, ladies and gentlemen? What do you think?
Are you trying to say that it was deliberately deleted later by the police? Are you saying that the police went round someone's house, body cam footage was recorded, it went into a system, I imagine, to be filed or recorded, and then later on, Nicola Bulley turns up missing. They say, oh, looking through the records, we were at a house the other day, we've got this body cam footage of it all. Quick, delete it. That's what Alan's saying. They're the options he's prevented. Like, he's not going to tell you what he thinks because he doesn't have a brain. He's going to like conjure up some conspiracies.
Could be any one of the three things, right? But it has to be one of those three things.
which is why they did a report and an investigation, and they determined that it had been not switched off, but not switched on.
Now, here's the problem. A lot of you are naive.
I'm so naive. I believe the IOPCC report into what happened.
I'm not saying that nasty. You're naive because you've never been a policeman. Or you've never spoken to policemen in depth that I have.
Yeah, have you spoken to the police in depth, have you, Alan?
I've spoken to policemen from Scotland Yard, my local force, all over the place.
I bet you have. Under investigation of being a pedo.
And I've got a sad fact for you. The police lie. And they're quite happy to admit it. They lie because they want to solve a crime. They have a reason to lie.
In our country, the police are not to lie to you. In America, they can lie during in America, the police don't have no obligation to tell the truth in even in an interview. But in the UK, the police aren't to lie to you.
And they're allowed to lie. The police are allowed to lie to you.
I've heard a police person lie to me, to my face. I've been in that situation. I've heard it. I know they're lying because I heard what they were said to them, and then they came and said to me, "They've just told me this," and I just heard what they said. They didn't say that. The police allowed to lie in the UK. The law does not allow lying to suspects under any circumstances. I mean, in general, I mean, there's levels, aren't it? There's levels. But in general, there are laws precluding it. But like lying to you in the street about what they had on their sandwiches, I don't know. You know, there are levels.
Not the trial on oath, but when they're investigating, they're allowed to lie to get certain things out.
It's just making up bollocks.
So when we're told it wasn't switched on or not working, the answer could easily be they're not showing you because they're allowed to lie. Which leads me to...
Alan's lying.
How much do the police tell us? How much don't they tell us? A lot. Here's a phrase that might shock you, right? They don't tell us stuff about crimes because of the one line is their fallback, right? And their fallback is not in the public interest. It's not in the public interest for you to know X, Y, Z. So they don't tell you. This could be one of those, right? Allowed to lie, but we're not going to tell you.
What?
So what is a police welfare check? Welfare checks, also known as safe and well checks in the UK, are conducted by police to locate people at risk of harm and seek to manage and safeguard risk. Checks can take place in public places or the person's home, normally at the request of another person. In this case, it was Nicola's sister.
Big ups, Daisy Wazy. You're in their chat, are you? You thought you'd get kicked immediately, but several chirped up. They might be trying a new strategy, because Alan's certainly trying a new strategy. Well, going over the old
sister
bullshit.
Would say, why the hell did you do that for? For sure. Welfare checks should only be made if it's considered there is immediate, real, and substantial risk of life, or a risk of serious injury to a person concerned or any other person. So it's not done lightly. I've had lots of people phone up for a health check for me, and the police don't come. They went there because there was a serious phone call from my sister. Very real and present danger. Should Nicola's sister have done this to her? I don't know the circumstances. It could be tough love, or it could be a mistake. I don't know the answer. Police actions are limited to finding the individual, calling for medical assessment of people who are found when necessary, and feeding back information to the person who requested the check. So a sister phones up, and the police decide, yep, we're going to send all bells and whistles, ambulance, policemen, health officials, sending a whole lot to your house.
Oh, I love it when he takes off his glasses. Look at this. Look at the panda eyes. Look at the raccoon eyes. Look at this. Sorry, I shouldn't be ad hominem, you know, how he looks, but if it's fucking... Like, it's like, you know, mask off supervillain stuff, isn't it? Like, this is the ugly side of Alan Vinicum, and it's just like what he looks like. It's his face. Angry Alan. Angry, angry Alan. Maybe the filter's making it worse by smoothing it out. But what's going on? It looks like he's been... You know, it looks like he's had his sunglasses on during a nuclear fallout. Look at that. Scooped out from it. It looks like he's missing 2 avocado stones in his head. Scooped out from the front. Like, his head is made of like butter, and then like someone scooped this bit out and like added the eyes. They're in there somewhere. Fuck me. Condom full of butter, yeah. Big up Scandalf. Big up Slinky Socks. Big up Stegs. Big up Semen Stains. Big up Hasbo Casbo. Like, look at this. This is how he looks behind the glasses. That's why he wears those big glasses, to cover this. I don't know why it is like this. It seems abnormal to me. I mean, I've got bags under my eyes from no sleepies, but like my, it's not like. Like, okay, I want to say this, but if I say it, it's going to sound mental, right? I'm going to say it, right? Could you imagine if someone was wearing a balaclava, like all on your head, like completely cover you up like a balaclava, with just the eyes cut out, yeah? And they were under some hot lights that gave you dehydration and retina burn, and so this part of your face like was so much more tanned than the rest of it. Like, it looks like he's wearing a fucking skin face balaclava. It looks like he's, you know, that bloke that made a face out of the dead people. You know, when he skinned the dead people and killed the dead people and made the dead people. And like, it looks like someone's made a mask out. He looks like Mike Myers off Halloween. Looks like his face is... It's Leatherface. He looks like Leatherface. It looks like there's a face on top of his face. Or he's been wearing a balaclava and his face has been getting a lot of light on those eyes while he's been in that fucking room. Like, what the fuck is this?
Nicola, Bulley, and your partner and your children and your sister.
Imagine if someone's like, you know, creeping up to you behind you in the night while you're by the canal, and they're wearing a balaclava, and all you can see is that through the slit of the eyes. You know, and like they're the eyes that come and get you. Look at him, grimy bastard. Get those back on, Alan.
And they would report back to her sister on what their findings were.
Look how it hides it now. You know it's there now.
The police makes you to call an ambulance or a mental health team, or request an urgent mental health assessment. Because a policeman can't just take it away, so I'm taking you to a medical establishment. They have to have someone there to section someone. Oh, Chris.
A doctor.
They have the right people to make an assessment, to have somebody sectioned for their own health or whatever, right? No, by all accounts, she wasn't taken away. So was the health check right or wrong? Did her sister jump the gun? When in fact, Nicola was just drunk? Maybe she was just drunk. Where were the children? Were the children present?
So you're not answering any questions, you're just raising questions. You're like, oh, what about this? And could it be that? And could it be this? And I don't know, it could be that, and it could be this. And what if Nicola Bulley was high on cake? What if she'd had too much cake that evening and she'd eaten so much cake that it had made her have like a cake episode? Or what if Nicola Bulley really, really liked EastEnders and EastEnders wasn't on and she had a total flip out? Or what if Nicola Bulley had worn the wrong size shoes all day and all that day her feet had been really sore and so she decided to egg out over her fucking shoes? Or what if her sister had been round her house and was hiding in the attic, and when Nicola Bulley went to walk up the stairs, she jumped out from the attic to scare her and instead fell on her and killed her and they had to hide it? Or what if, like, you know, what if?
Why was her sister at her house?
Because she was concerned for her welfare and she went round to check on her as well as calling the welfare check, because Nicola Bulley was having a flip out because of relationship, because of goings on between her and her husband and her feelings.
was Nicola in difficulty. She wasn't working for a long while.
Why aren't we casting the point, like, why are you pointing the finger so heavy at Nicola's sister here, and you're not questioning Paul Ansel and his behaviour in this? Because if you're at home with your husband, and then the ambulance has to come, and the fucking police have to come, and your sister has to come, then the person I'd want to question about, I wonder if I'd what if, is like, what if your fucking husband is making you unhappy?
See if we can get the help of them.
It wasn't even her husband, but you know what I mean.
Social media.
You are on social media, Alan. You are social media.
Do the police know more?
Oh, no.
See if I work this out.
A roller coaster in itself. You wake up, still no news. Okay, we'd already planned the 7 days, a big media publicity. We were out there with the banners. So then to hear just in the afternoon that had driven awareness, influx of calls, that hope was ignited. I couldn't tell you the feeling like something's got to come of all this information.
While the police were absolutely sure Nicola Bulley went in the river.
Playing your old video. Literally playing the old video. I can't believe he gets a super chat now while the old video's on. I'm going to skip it because like, it's just the old video, but like it's just literally the best channel with this is Mr. Pickle DD, which I'm now thinking is a troll. The best channel with the highest quality people and Pup Winston on YouTube. Like there cannot be like this cannot be serious, can it? Because how can this be the best channel? Because they're reusing their old content. Like this is the equivalent of this, right? This is the in fact, why don't I just do this myself? Okay, YouTube. I want to be watching DSP's reacts. I can watch it another time maybe. YouTube and my channel. Paying attention and a live stream. Let's see what Angry Alan's saying about Nicola Bulley, you know, whatever. So let me scroll down to one of these videos. You know, Angry Alan live watch and react. You is there we go. Go and kick her door in, and oh shit, she's on top of Paul Ansel having the work meeting. The police come through the door, bang! Oh, Paul, it's a work meeting, quick, son! And like you know, like when that if that went off, yeah, and she was banged to. I'm just gonna go and play poker, whatever. Then he's gonna turn around and say, "I always said it." Obviously, I never said it because you can't say it, but I always said it. But you didn't, Alan. You're just trying to create smoke and mirrors, like on that like we just watched you on the restaurant thing on the last stream. You're just smoke and mirrors, mate, aren't you? You're just all bullshit, no substance. Bullshit.
It's just a side issue. That annoys me because they're supposed to be good, right? They're supposed to be brilliant. We have done very, very well. We know what we're doing, Lancaster Police do. Yeah, we're so clever that you described the coat wrong, even though you've got it on CCTV.
How do you know
That's
that?
How great you are.
How do you know about what they've got? And when they got it.
On the towpath, and then you take that away, and you wonder why we speculate. Why do we speculate? Because you told us she's on the towpath at 9:15.
Did they?
And then you take it away from us, like taking a candy from a baby. We were
taking a candy from a baby. You're the baby, aren't you?
The prognosis that Nicola
in that situation, he's the baby.
You took it away, and we're supposed to trust what you say. Right. So what are you saying?
They came out and they had a big press conference to sort out all the bollocks because there was so much bollocks. So there you go. Like that is literally the quality of Alan Street. Like literally just playing his old. I like watching his old stuff, like for fun, but to be playing his old stuff on his show and to get $20 as a super chat for that, I do not understand it. I cannot understand it.
Boot marks from her wellies or so buoyed up and so hope.
Just have no.
Is in the river.
Someone might find
The inquiry had that it's true. They've got an hypothesis that.
What a tragic case of missing.
What's behind that smile? What is it the police aren't telling us? What is it that everyone's not telling us? What is the... I just feel there's a massive elephant in the room that we're not being told.
But you're doing a study group to try and uncover the truth, aren't you? So just by constantly saying there's something that's going on, there's something going on, there's something going on, like...
Work it out. But there's stuff being withheld. Now, I know this through speaking to the police, that to stop this lady's family from suffering, they will withhold stuff from us that would solve this elephant in the room, that would solve this mystery for all time. But because of their duty to protect the family, they ain't going to tell us. Because it might bring the family more stress.
That's just made up bollocks that Alan said there.
Are we being sort of blindsided for our own good? That's what I'm trying to say. I believe that's the possibility. There's something about Nicola is known, and I know it in a gut feeling because day one, basically she's fallen in the river right here, and there's no chance of any criminal activity or other person's involvement. That should have been open-minded. That should have been, we don't know what happened, but we'll do our best to find out. Not tell the public, relax. They have to do that.
You see, he's put words in the police's mouth there. That's not exactly what they said at the time. They said, we have many lines of inquiry. We're keeping our options open. But of course, the river is our first priority. Because if she's in there, we want to get her out fucking quickly. No, they didn't actually do that, did they? There was a couple of days of her being missing, actually. That's what I'm paraphrasing as well. But do you know what I mean? Like, they said, we searched the river. Like, that's our first, main... hypothesis, did they say, or something like that? But we're keeping her, they didn't say that she was just definitely in the river, everyone go home. That's not what happened.
There's no serial puller.
Yeah, that picture of Nicola Bulley is it looks like an AI enhancement of her, doesn't it? I don't know where he's got the picture from, but
pusher of people in the river around here. Relax. I call it the Jaws syndrome, where the sheriff of the town says, no, there's nothing to worry about, you can all go swimming, there's no shark here. I believe that they don't want to panic the public, so that's why they say straight away there's no third party involvement. Don't worry about it. It's not criminal. The
Jaws syndrome.
No. You can walk your dog.
They don't want to panic the public. That's fucking ridiculous. It's the most stupid thing I've heard in such a long time. The police do not try and placate the... if they thought there was some murderer out there in the field, yeah, and they had some inkling of that being the case, they would be saying, stay away from the park. Women, be careful after dark. Here is advice from the police. Watch, keep everyone, neighbourhood watch, keep a lookout. If you see anything suspicious, report it. They're not going to just keep a hush hush on that. If anyone else gets murdered, keep that hush hush too until we can catch them. What's he on about? That's not how the police operate. Do you know when there was a missing girl? I don't want to dredge up the particulars of the case, but there was a missing girl in London, and when she was missing, they had suspected that she'd been kidnapped or what have you. They were very concerned for the people in the area and the young people in the area. Be vigilant, they say. They don't say just fucking go walking your dog. What's he on about? He's talking a load of shit.
Imagine if they said the other words. We believe this was an act of a ruthless killer who's been seen around the area attempting to push people in the river for the last few months. Imagine the fear of God that would gone into that village and no one would go outside.
So that's your theory, is it? That there was a ruthless killer pushing people in the river and that they killed her by pushing her in the river? Because if that was their theory, they'd have been well on saying that, wouldn't they? But that wasn't their theory, because that sounds like an outlandish, fantasy creation, doesn't it? Although, having said that, we think Alan might be the pusher. And there's another ding, 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 tick in a box. Alan might be the pusher, because that's come from his own head. This ruthless killer running around pushing people in rivers. Could you imagine if the police had said that? Of course it would cause confusion and outcry in the community. They wouldn't say it like that, would they? They'd be careful. But if they did think that, they would still tell the community to be careful. They wouldn't just be like, let your kids go playing in the park, hope they don't die.
By the door. So
Alan's got no idea about how police operate, about how police PR operates. He's got no idea whatsoever. He said he's talked to a load of policemen, only because they've wanted to investigate him for various crimes. He's got no friends in the police force. He's got no inside knowledge. He's got no knowledge at all.
They have to make a decision which way to go.
Big ups, Andy. Yeah.
And they went for nothing to see here. They went for the nothing to see here route.
They didn't go for nothing to see here. They went for massive publicity campaign. If anyone can help. They were on the news doing the press conferences. Okay, on the first couple of days after she went missing, there was no huge police response in the same way, but that was reliant on the media as well, and stuff like that. In the first, I think, because it was a Sunday, wasn't it? And then there was the Monday, and then there was the big push from the community, and the media started covering it more. But it's just they went out searching. They didn't say nothing to see here.
Go on the nothing to see here. They have to have had reason to believe that maybe, I don't even want to say it. Maybe they had reason to believe that Nicola no longer wanted to be alive. Maybe they had reason to believe that. Maybe the parents had reason to believe that, but they're not going to tell us.
There was
I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm saying,
again, there was a hint of that, wasn't there, when they mentioned that they thought she had mental problems later on down the line. And we said, we discussed it numerous times on videos, that if the police had thought that she was vulnerable, vulnerabilities, they might have treated it like a suicide initially and searched the river more intently for that reason. Like, of course, like, Alan's scared to say it, but I'll say it.
There's a massive elephant in this room, and I can't get to the bottom of it because they aren't telling us.
So why are you doing these videos on it?
What they really know, are they?
Because you can't get to the bottom of it, so what are you saying? Nothing of any importance.
They're just not. They're telling us bits and pieces, but not everything. I keep getting this elephant in the room.
Is it possible that the police don't know everything because they only know bits and pieces? Because what really happened on that day and the bits and pieces that we've been able to put together on the inquiry are still quite bitty and piecey. Is that possible? Or do you think that police on day one knew everything that had happened because they'd done a welfare check a couple of weeks earlier? So on day one, they had it all down. Quick, delete the footage from the welfare check. It's time to go into Operation Bulley is in full effect. You've all been briefed. It's day one of the investigation, so you know not to say anything to the media. Don't make a big fuss. It's hush hush all round. If anyone in the village asks you, there's not a serial killer pushing people in the water. Got it? Like, what does he think happened? Like, he's implied that on day one of the investigation, the police had full knowledge of what had happened to Nicola and had gone into operation trying to conceal it.
Break it. I can't break the mystery. Just can't.
My cat's going
So
nuts.
let's do a bit more looking.
Oh, not the news.
Some experts. Get that little bit of information.
Loading adverts. Well done, Alan AD.
Sorry,
advert.
Yeah.
Advert
So
detective.
what's being withheld? Oh, everything's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. No, nothing wrong with it. That was a portrayed thing. I think we get a better clue from our actual parents and sister. Let's look at our parents and sister with the passing of time and what they said. What they said at the time about the early days when we did.
I mean, I would agree, reviewing the testimony of those people after the event, you know, you can maybe learn a little bit from that in some ways, but also it borders on the like, after they've said, like, this is difficult for all of us that have covered the Nicola Bulley stuff, and you might notice that my Super Chuffer channel is not doing what Alan's doing now, but for all those who've said, like, and he's just going to play this interview and talk about them, you know, they've said, let it rest. They've said, give us peace, you know, let us get on with our lives. And for this to turn into a Rusek moment for Alan here, like people have mentioned in chat earlier, this is how it got started with the Rusek family. Like, this feels like, you know, Alan's treading close to the bone here. Everyone knows it. Everyone knows that Alan has got a track record of not letting these people have their peace and saying weird slurs about them on the internet. The victims, the family of the victims of the crime. So Alan's treading in difficult water here. I personally don't want to watch the fucking interview again and go over it again right now. Personally, I don't see how this is entertainment, really. Now mine's loading. My cat's messing. Are you alright, cat?
Father, it's been very difficult.
And Alan's broadcast
Friday morning
is bad quality. So you're getting to watch this in like 480p, stoppy-starty, herky-jerky internet on Alan's broadcast. So that's even worse. And he's not stopping it and saying things.
The community spirit has been unbelievable in a very small village. How much has that helped you?
You know, let's watch it again with hindsight. Oh,
You know?
he's stopping.
Louise, I would say, knows more than anyone in this case, and she's showing that now.
From far and wide to help look for your daughter. Massive. It's been massive. We've really appreciated it, and everyone that's been involved doing a sweep search of the fields, etc. It's just given us hope that someone might find something that could give us that little clue to what might have happened.
We just need something. We're nearly a week on tomorrow, and we're just going around in circles. It's like something's got to have been missed. There's got to be, somebody must know something. Somebody must know. People don't just vanish into thin air. There's got to be somebody that knows something. And all we
Good body language analysis, Alan.
are asking, no matter how small or big, if there's anything that you can remember that just doesn't seem right, then please reach out to the police. Please just get in touch. And
Well, that person is Louise, who sat here on the left. Louise here has probably told the police things that we have never heard. Louise was there at this breakdown.
So she's not going to be able to ask the public for any extra information than she's given to the police then, is she? She shouldn't be saying, please, if anyone knows anything, oh, obviously I know stuff that I haven't said. Like, she's obviously given that information to the police, don't you think? Because it came out in all the fucking reports. And like the police were there at the fucking, like, she called the police. Like
meltdown of her sister. How bad was it, Louise? Did you tell your parents how bad it was? Or did you, like the police do, need to know basis? They don't need to know this.
But she called the police, and the police were there, and she was there with the police at the meltdown. The supposed meltdown. No one said meltdown. Alan did. Meltdown, you know, the welfare check. Welfare check. Like, welfare check for someone's health, right? Let me get this absolutely clear. Alan is assuming that Nicola, like, this is kind of bad. This is kind of bad. Alan is assuming that Nicola Bulley had some sort of mental health episode and required the welfare check. It may well be that was the case, okay? But that's 100% in Alan's mind, the armchair detective. But it's not. Is it not possible that, like, for example, Louise could have been worried about her sister in different ways, and instead of calling the police because she's worried and wants Paul arrested, she calls in a welfare check, knowing that the police will also be on the scene, and Paul might, you know, there might be there could be other reasons for calling the welfare check other than simply Nicola's having a meltdown, and it could be that Nicola was having a difficult time and required a welfare check on those terms exactly, but it could be that there are other factors at play, couldn't it? So it's weird that Alan should be absolutely 100% made up his own mind about his own story in his own head of what happened at the welfare check that he has no confirmation of. We've got a few details from the inquiry, and we've got a couple of details from the IOPC report, but Alan doesn't know.
Was Nicola's family, mum and dad, in the dark about this? And this puts Louise here in a terrible situation. What does she do?
Get my sister back.
I was going to ask you that, Lou. What is it you want to say to people watching this, wherever they're sat, wherever they're watching from, on their phones, on the tellies? What do you want to say to people in order to help you?
Well, just if anybody knows anything, just let us know. Just, Nikki, if you're bloody out there, just let us know that you're okay. We can sort anything out. We just want you home.
Whatever it is, Nicola, we just want you home. We can sort it out. Where's her mum thinking? Her mum is, like, silent. Because she sees the elephant in the room too, the same way as I do.
What? You can't put words in her mouth like that. You can read her body language and say, I think the like, for example, when I first watched this, I watched the moments where the mum was peering at him when he was talking and looking at her, and I suggested that body language is congruent with the idea that she was inspecting or like keeping an eye on. And for the husband, I think it's, is he going to break? Is he going to be too upset? Is he okay? Is this too much for him? Like, careful here. Like, don't say the wrong thing as well. Don't go over the board and start blaming people on the telly or throwing accusations around. We just need to be careful here, because at this moment they didn't know what had happened. They weren't sure, and they were holding shit together maybe. And she's like, you know, sometimes when someone's telling someone a lie, they will check the person they're watching. They're trying to, you know, see if it's going in and how they're reacting. And she was sort of checking it, but not because she was telling a lie, the mother, but because she's checking on. Like, that was my body language. That's an example of my body language analysis of the way she was behaving in that moment. Alan here has just put words in her head that she knows something secret about Nicola Bulley that they're not saying, and so there's an elephant in the room. And what is this elephant in the room that Alan keeps alluding to? Is that there was a welfare check, and that I'm a bit confused about what Alan really thinks here, but he's saying there's an elephant in the room.
My approach to this is that,
Minka, don't be doing that.
For the public to search their minds or anything that they might have seen, doesn't matter how significant it is. If it's something that they think might not be interesting, it could be an inform the police that they've seen something. But the main thing is that we want to find Nicola, get her back home.
No, that's a sofa. You know it's a sofa. Come on.
And we feel that we want to back, obviously, also.
She's on a nut job.
But, you know, if Nicola is out there, if she's watching this, then all we'd like to say is just come home, contact the police, contact ourselves.
Alan's not even on his own show anymore.
We just want you back.
Bearing in mind, I just slipped into it just listening to them talk. Alan's not even on his fucking show anymore.
Someone sent me a message that they know that Lancashire police have footage of the CCTV of the morning Nicola disappeared. So, like I said about Lancashire police not telling us stuff, I'm pretty sure this is right. But they have
that CCTV is from their house. We've all seen it on the internet. You looked at it and said there was metadata embedded in it. Are you fucking slow? Like, what's going on here, Alan? Don't you remember? You've done episodes on it.
CCTV about that morning. What does that show? Does that show her in a distressed state? Is that why they think she unalived herself? Is she seen on CCTV in a very distressed state? Maybe in tears, maybe, they're not showing us. Because why they're not showing us? This lady here is on CCTV, I guarantee it. We were never shown it, even when she was missing. There has to be a reason. And that's what I'm thinking out now. From the distance of time, I'm taking the emotion out of it. The police aren't telling you stuff. They have her on CCTV,
But don't you remember analysing the scene and looking at where the different cameras were?
they won't show you. Why won't they show you? Because it's not in the public interest. Why is it in the public interest not to show somebody that's a missing person at the time she was just missing? Why is it not in the public interest to show us her on CCTV when she was missing? Why? It has to be what's seen on the film. Now, what was the score on the what's the score, Kako, on was this all the family sounding like she was abducted or she ran off? What was the result? I didn't get time to look at it. I'll get a result on that in a minute. But you see what I'm saying? Don't tell me, Lancashire Police, that you haven't got Nicola Bulley on CCTV because I don't believe you.
Asking the people, did the family think she was abducted or ran off in the way they were talking? They were keeping an open mind that she might be okay out there and she might come home. Like, they were scared for her safety. Did they think she was abducted or ran off? It's disgusting.
You now know that police lie to us and they're allowed to. You now know that police don't show us stuff if it's not in the public interest.
You didn't prove any of those things. You just said them at the start of the episode. This is Alan all over. This is exactly Alan all over. I hope he does this in court. I hope he actually goes to court and does this. You can't say, you now know. How do I know it? Because I said it at the start of the episode. You didn't prove it. You didn't show any evidence of it. You just said, you now know it. It's so fucking... That's gaslighting. That's gaslighting. That's what that is. How do you know it? Well, we talked about it earlier. I'm pretty sure I remember talking about it earlier. Yeah, I remember you talking about it earlier. So we now know, based on that, like, he does this as well. He uses his own videos sometimes as evidence that, like for example, can you lie to the police? Well, let me check on the internet. Here's a video of my own that is me saying that you can lie to the police. So there we go. It's on YouTube. You can lie to the police. Yeah, but that's just you saying it in the past. Yeah, but... there's a video of it. Like, Alan's like, he thinks that video evidence means that he said it on video once. It doesn't mean that you can. Like,
300 cars, a car cam. Don't tell me you haven't got her on CCTV because I don't friggin' believe it. And like I've been saying over this last 46 minutes, taking you to this point, you now know that police lie to us and they're allowed to. You now know that police don't show us stuff if it's not in the public interest. You now know that even her parents aren't telling us she had a lot of difficulties. So you put those facts together and you have a CCTV of a distressed Nicola Bulley, in my opinion. When she left the home, she was stomping about and she looked angry. She looked angry. What state was she in by the time she parked the car and walked towards the fields? Was she in a distressed state in the field? Don't tell me that we haven't got CCTV footage. I don't believe it. Lancashire Police, I'm not stupid. You have it. But you've never shown us. Why? I say again, the police are allowed to lie to you. The police are not going to show you stuff if it's not in the public interest. The police will protect the family from being distressed more if they have stuff when it's too late. She's dead anyway.
Oosh.
Let's face it, it's not going to bring her back, is it?
That was a horrible thing to say, wasn't it?
I'm going to show you stuff if it's not in the public interest. The police will protect the family from being distressed more if they have stuff when it's too late. She's dead anyway. Let's face it, it's not going to bring her back, is it? If you don't, it's okay if you don't agree with me. That's fine.
This is god-awful content in this woman's name. God-awful content.
Vibes that she was looking to leave. We have the statement from her friend on Facebook. Look, if you're looking for somewhere safe, you can come and stay at ours. No one's thinking she's abducted. They all think she's done a runner.
Slurring his words like a drunk.
That Nicola's run away. They don't think she's murdered. They don't think that at all. They don't think somebody's clambered her into a car and driven her off. No, they think she's run away. And there's the answer. Well, the one foot of the elephant. The police and everyone thought, was it another man? Was it a state of health? Something gave them all the impression that she was on the run.
So what were they doing looking in the fucking river? What? Why didn't you make loads of videos back then suggesting that she was on the run? Why didn't anyone say that she's on the run? She's definitely not in the river, said Paul. That's a good point. That's a good point. Because they checked the fuck... He said... He didn't just come out without nowhere. He said they've checked the river extensively. They've searched up and down. So we can categorically say that if she was in that river, we would have found her. So I guess she's not in that river. Like, he didn't say I guess. He said she's not in that river. I'd like them to start searching the houses and the places around nearby and all these other places. Yeah, he did specifically say she's not in the river. But the context was, having searched the river, they've decided she's not in the river. Yeah. But initially, he was just stood down there on the bank with Peter Folding and all that. Like, you know, like they were going on looking at the river like as it was their number one hypothesis. Like, the family in the interview give the impression that if she's out there, she could just come home. It could work it all out, because that was the earlier stages where they were just hoping. Like, you don't do a press conference for your missing loved one and say, look, I'm pretty fucking sure she's dead. So before I start officially grieving, I'd just like to do a press conference to say, if you've murdered her, we're coming to get you. Like, that's, you don't hear of that. If someone's taken her, I'm coming for you. Like, you hope to God that they're found safe, you know. And sometimes they say, if you've taken her, like if you've taken Maddie, you know, whatever. Like, but they, do you know what I mean? Like, it's most likely they'd do a press conference and say, look, what would you like to say if anyone's out there listening? If Nicola's out there, if you're listening, please come home. Like, that's the thing people do. Yeah, AD's wasted. Paul did say she's not in the river, I agree, but that was after a big search of the river. Also, the concept that comes back to my mind repeatedly, you know, the option, the thing I wonder about is that most of these cases involve murder by the spouse, don't they? I mean, look at the Chris Watts thing that Alan won't stop talking about, right? So wouldn't the spouse say, oh, she's not in the river, if they're trying to hide her in the river later? And like, is the spouse's testimony to be used as gospel and going forward? Like, 'cause in the Chris Watts case, he said all sorts of stuff turned out to not be right when they found out he was lying. So, like, I just find this really fucking weird that Alan's now suggesting that at the start of the investigation, the police basically thought that she'd run off with some other man, when we all talked about it as one of the options right back at the start. You know, we all, like, people were saying, what if she had this, like, you know, thing lined up and she'd done a Gone Girl and stuff like that. But, like, she did turn up dead, so that's not what happened. And the police did not push that. They said that they were, you know, lines of inquiry, hope, you know, if anyone's seen her, this and that, you know. But overall, like, they started searching that river pretty fucking hard, didn't they? Like, they didn't pretend that she might not be dead in the river. This is really weird what he's doing.
But the police had a slightly different hypothesis. Their hypothesis was that she fell in the river.
Yeah.
Only they said she was in the river.
What?
Did they have some letter from her? Did they have a text from her? Did they have a message that we're not shown? Something that we're not told.
It's called police procedure. She was last seen in the vicinity of the river. She's missing. So what do you want them to do? Do you want them to go fucking asking at all the used car dealerships if anyone's seen her? Like, what the fuck you want? He said hippopotamus. Yeah, no, he did that deliberately because he says hypothesis, and then he did a video about it where he didn't say hypothesis very well, and he called it a hippopotamus, and he's made it into a running gag that the police hypothesis is now a police hippopotamus. Like the elephant in the room, it's a hippopotamus in the room. He's made it his own running gag. But when he says it now, that you don't, like, without much context, it sounds fucking stupid.
Is that there were two beautiful girls at home, Nikki's kids. You know, how difficult is that, knowing that the daughters are there without a mum?
It's obviously their little minds are trying to process. They don't really understand. None of us understand, to be honest.
Everyone's still in shock.
When there's children involved, you have to carry on. You've got to get through every day, and that's all we're trying to do.
But they know the mum is missing. but they know that she's going to be coming home. And this is, everyone's looking for her. So it's only a matter of time that they're thinking in their minds that she's going to walk through
This is awful. Skip. So Alan, like when you think about it, Alan is just like, because when we do a body language react, you know, I'll do 10 minutes and you're seeing it now. I'll pause it, I'll talk, you know, I'll do 10 minutes of content and I'll turn it into an hour of me talking about it. And that's the value that, you know, the thing that we do, the react, the fair use commentary, you know, that's what I'm doing. I'm creating content, aren't I? Like, there's a catalyst and here's me doing my bit. Alan has just managed to play the Nicola Bulley family interview again in its entirety with a couple of minor pauses for a little bit of a ramble, a couple, but really he's just using that to fill time on his channel and getting more views off it and more views off it and more views off it. You can't upload that video over and over again, but you can put it on in your video and talk around the subject. And bear in mind, we just watched it. He hasn't said anything tonight. Overall, in about an hour and a half, he said maybe the family thought she ran off. That's it. In an hour and a half. And he's just getting money for somebody else's suffering, playing their videos. Like, he's just, it's horrible content. I actually feel like my thumbnail for this, because this is going to get cut and put on YouTube, isn't it? My thumbnail for this, the title, I feel like the title is going to be Alan desecrates Nicola Bulley's memory and slurs her family. You know, it just, what a horrible thing to do for your true crime study group. It's awful. Yeah. And it doesn't mean that you can't talk about Nicola Bulley on your channel, anyone. What it means is you have to understand tone. You have to understand context. You have to understand the media you're producing and the way it looks and is. You have to understand where to add value, where to back off. You have to understand these things I'm talking are like taste and decency. That's what I'm talking about. Taste and decency. And if you are devoid, and I don't want this man on screen, I want Alan on screen, thank you. If you are devoid of decency, if you don't have a moral compass, you make these mistakes and show yourself for who you really are. A depraved, selfish, narcissistic grifter who's had a bit of a good holiday and a bit of a drink with the lads. Way. So anyway, back to the sadness of Nicola Bulley and her family.
So, yeah, just hope she comes out.
Heartbreaking. Heartbreaking. Did we get any answers though? I got that Louise knows a lot that she's not saying, and she's almost smiling about it. It could be a nervous smile. I know that when I went to my dad's funeral, I felt myself smiling a lot of the time. Why am I smiling?
What? I mean, I know. No, wait. Now listen, I have heard of the nervous smile, but what? I don't want to put anyone down who's been to a funeral and smiled inappropriately or felt that they've had a nervous smile or whatever, but like, I just get the impression that Alan doesn't share that experience, but was actually just smiling a lot at his dad's funeral.
There was a lot that she's not saying.
He was probably drunk or on drugs or some shit.
And she's almost smiling about it could be a nervous smile.
And I love the way that we brought it back to Alan as well. We were talking about trying to do some sort of body language analysis of Louise, but instead, now what we're doing is talking about Alan and his experiences.
I know that when I went to my dad's funeral, I felt myself smiling a lot of the time. I think, why am I smiling? And I realised it was my way of dealing with something.
Dealing with the fact you were happy because you don't give a fuck about your dad and you're getting the inheritance?
Wasn't I was happy, obviously.
No? Are you sure? Because you are a cunt.
So I don't think we can take anything by Louise smiling.
All right, we'll just write that off then. Good body language analysis. We can't take anything by Louise smiling. Inheritance, I don't know. You know, if his dad died, then I'm assuming he gets, like, he's the first thing Alan's thinking of is, when are we reading the will? What's he left me? Do I get the fucking watch and the house? And, like, you know, do I get the... Who's getting the car? Do you know what I mean? Like, I can't believe. I know there are some people, I've heard it said that they were at a funeral or something like that, and even something very, very close to them, like their own parents maybe, and like they found themselves laughing at inappropriate times, stuff like that. But Alan was just like happy. Alan was just happy because Munnis, disgusting narcissist.
But this visit to the home.
And I bet, I'll tell you something else that happened at his dad's funeral, is that everyone kept coming up to him and going, "Are you okay, Alan? Oh, Alan. Oh, you must be so sad, Alan." It was the ultimate pity party. And he fucking loved it. The disgusting, slimy grifter.
Is everything. Everything.
Oh, yeah, I am sad, but now that Dad's gone, I don't know if I'm going to have the money to keep poor whatever I need to keep. You know, I don't know if you could help me out. They've got a collection jar nearby, near the coffin at the head of the. After you leave past the priest, there's a collection jar, Alan's big collection jar. If you could just pop something in that. Oh, I am feeling sad, but I'm smiling a lot as well because
I believe this was the catalyst for what happened.
What was?
And I hope you see why I think that.
No, that's not the catalyst for what happened, right? Nicola Bulley's home, the police visiting her home before, this one that is brought up from the fucking Daily Record, the welfare check. That's not the catalyst for what happened. That's like we're way down the line towards what's happening, aren't we? Like if you think what happened to Nicola Bulley started 17 days before her disappearance. If you think that it's all, oh, right, well, 17 days ago, then wheels went into motion, and then she's been removed. Like, it's not how it is. This is emblematic of her problems that have been building towards the sad and tragic case of her death, which I've still got questions. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not going to start spouting some conspiracy nonsense here without any proper evidence, but I'm still not happy with the idea that she just fell in and died. I'm not happy with that. I don't think that's necessarily because the inquest said it, that's it. No. But I don't think that 17 days before someone said, right, we're going to have to put a plan into action now. This is the start of things with Nicola. It's not the start.
Police visited Nicola Bulley's home 17 days before the disappearance. Meanwhile, the police are still saying there's nothing at all to suspect anything really. Don't suspect anything.
Digital inquiries, for example.
You all right, Alan?
Still no evidence to indicate criminal aspects in Nicola's disappearance.
He seems pissed, doesn't he?
Hundreds of pieces of information submitted by the public, and I would like to thank the public for all of their assistance throughout this investigation. There are also dozens of other officers and staff who have helped in the investigation, searchers and reassurance to the local community in St Michael's. We've involved a range of...
Now we're just playing this policeman that is interviewed, like, we're thanking people, we want to help people. Like, what? Why are we playing that now? With no critique, just played it.
Substance issues normally take...
If there's any content Alan can let roll for a while, he fucking will, won't he? He's got nothing to offer. He's just filling time. Like, who are these people in his streams watching this shit? Why are people watching this shit?
It means drugs, right?
I say it a number of times as well. As a content creator, I try and work on the content. And I try and produce something of value and hopefully do something of quality that you can enjoy watching. And to see someone get away with just doing the worse than the bare minimum, it's just shit. Like, what is wrong with people who watch this and think it's worth watching? Like, how can there be people out there that watch this and think it's worth watching? He's got the newspaper on the screen and he's played you the little video off the Daily Record. And there's the advert for Birkenstocks on the Daily Record.
Not with health officials. And the ambulance wasn't there because she was injured. It was there to take her to a health facility.
It's because when you call a welfare check, certain members of the this makes me angry. This was covered in the IOPC report and the inquest, is that when you have a welfare check, people are required to turn up. It's not they didn't have an ambulance because she was broken her leg, but they did have one to take her to the mental home. It's that they called a welfare check on her, so they are obliged to turn up. The police, the same reason.
We have described how Nicola had vulnerabilities, and we want to expand on that.
This was the day that they announced that she had vulnerabilities and she'd been suffering with, problems with alcohol. And there was a backfire from this, wasn't there? Which was people said, fuck you, the police. What the fuck are you on about? Basically saying she's mental now a couple of weeks down the line. Mental, so she's probably in the river. Like, there was a backfire to this.
A little, said the police a few hours later. Sadly, it's clear from speaking to Spore and his family that Nicola has in the past suffered with significant issues with alcohol, which were brought up by ongoing struggles with
Brilliant, Alan.
breathing, alive, breathing, or conscious. That's the first thing. They don't do this very often. Police actions are limited to finding the individual, calling for a medical assessment of people who are found necessary, and feeding back information to that person. They may call an urgent ambulance.
He's now learning what happens at a welfare check, which I'm surprised he didn't learn when we learned that Nicola had a welfare check, and we went and did an episode on what happens at a welfare check through the lens of the IOPC report on the welfare check, because he's not doing his fucking homework. He's not even watching all of my episodes on stuff. That was probably a bit dry for him, going through the IOPC report properly and examining the investigation into the welfare check. So he's just now learning what the basic premise of the welfare check. Now, at the end of the episode, having made a load of conjecture and aspiration, he's like made up a load of stories about what might have gone on at this welfare check, and he's now learning what goes on at a welfare check. Like, can you see how shit this is?
Or call the community health team, which they did, and request the arrangement of urgent mental health assessment. So let me say this. She was assessed on the spot.
No, because they could have called in the well, she was assessed for her, first thing, of course, any public servant does when they get on the scene is an assessment. But she was assessed not by a mental health professional in terms of sectioning her, like bring the doctors in, let's call in that assessment like you just read. No, they came and they talked to her, and they brought in someone from the mental health, not the mental health, sorry, from the community health support team to talk to her. But they didn't assess her in terms of like, does she need to go in a facility?
The police have admitted to you that they sent a policeman and a health professional. The health professional was there to assess if she should be taken into care.
No, you need a doctor for that. I mean, health professional's vague, so it could have been a doctor maybe. But if you want to have someone taken into, like, to be sectioned, like, then do you need a doctor to be sectioned? UK. I mean, it says health professional, so maybe you can be sectioned by one doctor only, together with the approved mental health professional. So the mental health professional might be there, but then you need a doctor. You can be taken to hospital and assessed there, but a doctor has got to do that. So my bet, my gamble on the Nicola Bulley I keep saying mental health now. The Nicola Bulley health check would be that the police did call someone out, but not a doctor to have her sectioned, but somebody to help with her, to assess maybe her state of intoxication, of upset, how upset she is. So she might have been quite upset, and that might be perceived as mental anguish, but is she just really upset and having an argument with her spouse? Like, there are lots of different, is she got a bump on her head, concussion? Like, there are lots of different, maybe we need a medical person to check her over. So what happened at the welfare check is categorically, therefore, not, we brought in, because he said there's another layer that you could call in. We can get her assessed by the assessment team. We can call in the doctor and they can come and assess her for mental health, section her. That's not what happened.
And she wasn't. How do I know she wasn't taken into care? Because the next day...
Because she wasn't taken into... When he says care, you mean sectioned. You don't just get taken into care as an adult. Like, care? What's care? And how do you know that she wasn't? Alan's going to tell us, but my guess is because she turned up fucking dead in the river, for one. Like, you know, if she'd been in fucking care in a mental health facility, then she wouldn't have taken the kids to school, would she? Or done anything for the next couple of weeks, because she would have been in the fucking mental health facility, and they would have had all record of it, and they would have known where she was.
I know she was mad with Louise about this.
Like, if you get sectioned, you're not just let out the next day. Oh, you were having a bad day yesterday, you got sectioned, yeah. You feeling better today? Yes. Okay, home you go. Like...
She went to a local hospital on her own, not with Louise, not with her partner. She went to a local hospital on her own. Why would she go to a local hospital?
She thought she still had concussion.
The day after this health check. Think about that. Why is she going to a hospital? If it was to get
Can you fucking get on with it?
Pills or antidepressants or medicine, she'd go to a doctor's.
Right, obviously that's stupid, isn't it? No one's going to hospital. No one's going to hospital for pills or antidepressants. No, obviously.
Why'd you go to a hospital outpatients? Not to get pills. Why'd you go on your own? It's minor. It's minor, and she's gone to outpatients. She's not gone to a doctor.
Or it's personal. Or everyone else is busy. Like, it's interesting that Paul wouldn't, like, you would think that your husband would take you, wouldn't you? Your boyfriend, or whatever, you know, significant other. You know, maybe he's too busy working from home and having his hour off or whatever. But my guess is she wasn't feeling well and she thought she might go there. And my guess is that you know, you want to hear me in my talk, that mental health check was brought in by the sister who's worried about her, and worried about her she should be, because Paul, in my opinion, could have been dangerous. And so, like, if she's got any sort of head injury, she might have gone there the next day to have it assessed. I still feel worried. I still feel woozy. Last night I obviously had a headache, but today I've still got a headache. I need to check this out. And should I get Paul to drive me so that he can explain how he bounced my head off the fucking wall? Like, no, obviously not. Like, I'm not saying that he did that, obviously defamation or whatever, but here's an option that Anna's not exploring.
She's gone to have something looked at, or bandaged, or stitched, or something, right?
Stitched.
So the medical team said to her, "You need to see a doctor. You need to see a doctor at the hospital about having that stitched, or check that's not broken. You might need an X-ray to see if you're broken your wrist. You know."
So then they'd have X-rays at the hospital, yeah, that they would have been able to put into the investigation and into the inquest. They would probably want those X-rays in the inquest, wouldn't they? Because they would explain broken bones on her corpse. You can't just make this shit up, Alan. There's no way she had an X-ray, because it would have been added in at the inquest to explain broken bones that would have turned up in the autopsy. What are you talking about? I mean, she could have had one and it could have turned up nothing. There is that. That could have happened, I suppose. Like a scan. It annoys me the way he's talking around the subject to try and fill out time. Oh, she could have gone to the hospital. She's gone to the hospital. She could have had an X-ray. She could have had tonsillitis. She could have had upset tummy. She could have had, are you taking notes? She could have had, she could have hurt a toe. She's got 10 toes. She could have hurt a second toe. She could have hurt a third toe. She could have hurt a fourth toe. She could have hurt the fifth toe on that foot. Then we move on to the other foot. She could have hurt that first toe there. She could have hurt the second toe there. That third toe. Like, it's just padding it all out by talking nonsense.
So she did some damage to herself that needed assessment the next day.
To herself?
So that's why I know she wasn't taken into mental care that night. So we can assume the reason Louis' phone was mainly her state of mind. Was she shouting? Was she like saying, "I'm going to do away with myself"? Was she making threats to her own well-being? Was she threatening her own life? And Louis has gone, God, I've got to call the police. She's threatening to do this or threatening to do that to herself.
That's possible. Don't get me wrong. That's possible. But my problem here is that Alan's invented an idea in his mind and now he's stuck on that. Like, oh, you're the same, Scott. You think Paul's involved and stuff. Yeah, listen, Alan's still going on about it. I'm not still fucking making Paul Ansel videos daily, yeah? Like, Alan's got this idea stuck in his head, or he's trying to conjure it for us in the study group. This is the study group, bear in mind, and we're not being given any, like, in terms of study group, we've been showing one of Alan's old videos and a clip from the news. Like, where's the study group? What are you learning? How are you? Alan's just asking loads of weird questions and trying to make up a bit of a fantasy story. But that's Alan all over.
Now again, if
Fantasist.
you've got an ambulance and she's in some sort of in need of stitches or she's got a broken arm, they'd take her to the hospital, wouldn't they? So why weren't they taking her to the hospital that night? Because it's minor. Something minor. But she said, I don't need to go to hospital. Well, okay, you have to go, but can you please check sometime tomorrow, yourself? So it's falling fast. The health check fell from, oh my God, she's doing this, that, and the other, to, okay, well, we'll leave it. So I think Nicola was in a state of shock when the police arrived along with the health.
So from that, you can probably infer that whatever ailment she had wasn't requiring a scan or an x-ray, because if the fucking health people thought your arm was broken, they would take you to hospital. They wouldn't say just leave that. Maybe you'll get sepsis overnight and die. But, check it tomorrow yourself. Unless your symptoms develop the next day. Could that be possible? Could it be possible that you have some sort of injury? I know, because I'm constructing my own, fantasy idea of what happened, aren't I? But I've got my own idea of what happened based on, like I said, inference from facts. And I infer from these facts completely differently to Alan. Completely differently. I would say head injury, concussion. Symptoms persist the next day. Nausea. Swimmy head. Why don't you get someone to take you? Because the people that are around you are involved in the conflict that caused you to get your head concussed. And you just want it checked out on your own. There could also be, like, and I'll say this loosely, not trying to be sexist or anything, but women's issues that, something to do with her women's, it could be something like that that's a bit more personal to her. But I don't like, Alan's. It's like twisting it around to victim blaming again, isn't it? It's Nicola Bulley was not mad, she wasn't sectioned, but something was wrong with her. Something that she could go to the hospital about the next. He won't, like, he said at one point it's something she did to herself. Like, why won't you just talk it straight, Alan? Why won't you talk it straight?
And she sort of sobered herself up back like you do, like I would do. I would have sobered up instantly. I'm okay, what are you on about? Why are you here? That's what I believe she did that scenario where she, like,
You would have sobered up instantly. You having the superhuman power to just sober up instantly. Bang, sobered up instantly. Sounds like you've had a car crash that you've had to try and talk your way out of.
I would have sobered up instantly. I'm okay, what are you on about? Why are you here? That's what I believe she did that scenario.
You think Nicola Bulley sobered up instantly?
Where she, like, I don't know why you're here. I don't know why my sister called you. There's nothing wrong with me. Okay, I had a couple of drinks, but it's no need to be all this. I think she did that. It's quite easy to sober up quick in those circumstances.
Possible again. It's possible that she told them that she wasn't requiring any help or assistance. That is possible. But it's also the obligation of the people at the welfare check to do the due diligence. And I was screaming about this in our report on the IOPC report. Where's the body cam? Have you done your due diligence here? Because she turns up dead later. So if you think you've done your due diligence, you might want to question the process because she fucking turned up dead. So, anyone on that scene from the public services, especially the police officer, there might be limits to what someone can do if they're telling you that they just want you to leave and they're fine. But at the same time, you do have a duty of care to these people, and to leave the scene, leave Nicola, and then for her to turn up dead 2 weeks later, or sorry, go missing, and then later on, you know what I mean? Like, I find that a bit of a worry on the behalf of the police. But then we had the IOPC report. That's why we did the episode. I'm repeating myself, as is Alan.
Who wants to be taken away in an ambulance in front of your neighbours? She persuaded them that she's fine. In my opinion, I mean, like, I wasn't there. But that's what it looks like to me. So what do we get from the inquest from Miss Cunningham, Louise? KC represents the family.
Bear in mind, I'm not trying to say what happened exactly, why the police left. I'm bringing up ideas. I'll talk, if you want, we could do an episode on, like we did do an episode on it already, but if you want, we can do another one. I don't think we need to, but I'm not trying to, like, whereas Alan has said, right, this is what happened in that room. This is it, this is what happened. I'm not necessarily trying to pin my opinion to a mast here and have to go down with that ship. I don't know what went in that room. I don't know what went on in the health check. I've investigated a bit through multiple, like if you want to go on Super Chuffer and look at my episode about it, you can. The IOPC report, Nicola Kearney versus Nicola Bulley, or whatever her name was. Like, there was 2 reports. They were both released. We looked at both of them, and one of them was written by someone called Kearney, Emily Kearney. But let's be fair. You know, I did a lot on Emma White and Paul Ansell, and I was obviously pushed quite heavily towards that, and I still kind of have my feelings on that. But that's because I was watching interviews of them and reacting to their behaviour, so that's okay. Like, I'm not just doing another video talking about Paul out of, you know, let's just watch an old clip of Paul and I'll say a load of other shit. Like, that's not how it was going. Like, these are, in the same way as I'm reacting to Alan, I was reacting to their videos and drawing stuff out of it. So I think that's still fair. But the disgusting thing here is that Alan knows he's come to a conclusion based on a very loose understanding of the evidence and a very small pool of evidence. Alan has come to a complete conclusion and is proving himself to be a fucking awful detective. Like a terrible detective who knows fuck all about process, who knows fuck all about human behaviour, who may have stumbled upon one true fact, which is that Nicola might have said, no, it's okay, you can go. But other than that, like, he's just spinning stories. Big ups, Mean Green, setting fire to... I do that to my moustache there. Like, I like my moustache, and that's how I know when it's time to have a shave.
He actually spoke for once. And he said, he didn't question anything being wrong with anything else, but he did question her sister. You were close sisters, not just, but incredibly close. And you all came from a very loving family. And Nicola's family was her hobby. Strange, isn't it?
No, not if you love your kids.
Whose family is their hobby? A strange choice of words. I would say, to her, to Nicola, her family was everything.
Yeah, but when you don't know the context of those words, do you? You're not giving us the full context. So they might have said, did Nicola have any pastimes and do anything? Oh, her family's her hobby. She's always doing stuff with her family. You know, she doesn't go to the gym and do other things outside the family. Her hobby is like working with, you know, they might have said that. You don't give us the full context, do you, Alan, you idiot?
A hobby is something you do part-time, you know, that interests you. So, strange choice. Anyway, that's what he said. Louise said yes. Louise also said that Nicola had never, ever confided in her about having suicidal thoughts or anything related. Is that true? Wasn't there reports that Nicola made threats to her own life around Christmas, and they all said it was a throwaway line, she didn't really mean it, and they played it down? Louise says that never, ever confided about having suicidal thoughts or anything related, but we know, unless I'm wrong. Kaka, can you find that? I'm sure she said that there was one time at Christmas she threatened her
Kaka, can you find that?
own life. Can you find that, Kaka? Give me. Or is it in the notes? I'm not sure. So,
or is it in the notes? Meaning, I've never read what I'm reading now, but somebody else has written today's episode for me, and I'm reading through it now. So really, here's the thing, right? Here's a really important thing. I was thinking about this earlier. I was looking at some of his other content from the past, and in the past, his editing was better. And I believe that someone else edited his early videos for him, and that he had success on YouTube earlier in his career because other people were behind the scenes. You know, he's got these spanners that do the writing for him. Like, obviously, this is that in the notes? Is it going to come up later in what I'm reading here on my screen? Or can you send that, you know, Kaka, can you? So I think Kaka might have written this, yeah? And he's reading it, and someone else, like Armchair Detective channel, like we said before, is other people doing the work behind the scenes, and he's the front man. And like, he's talking to them behind the scenes, like, you know, you're the workers and I'm the front man. Like, you know that's what's going on. Someone else has written this for him, yeah? He's turned up, he's got a good episode tonight. They've been doing some work behind the scenes. I'll read it all out. Is it coming up in the notes, Kaka? Is it coming up in the notes?
Threatened her own life. Can you find that, Kaka? Give me. Or is it in the notes? I'm not sure yet.
I'm not sure yet, because I haven't read them. Yeah? Proof that there are notes that somebody else has written, and he hasn't read them. But he's reading them out now on his stream, okay? And is this like an insulation for Alan? So when I critique his content like this, and I know some of it is just him talking off-piste, off the cuff, so I can critique it, but does he think, well, that was a bad episode, I'll go and smack Kaka. Kaka, you got critiqued by Scott tonight, he said this and that about your writing, but I'm Alan, I didn't really do it. You wrote it, so I'm not to fault. Scott's Scott's stupid because he's critiquing me on the internet, but I'm not really writing these things, therefore I'm above the critique. Is that possibly happening?
So, and she would never have left her beloved dog alone. So there's no chance of her unaliving herself, says Louise. Asked whether she would leave the dog by the field if she considered her alive. Louise said absolutely not. There's no way that Nikki would leave Willow unattended.
This stupid practice of saying unalive instead of killed or suicide because they believe that YouTube has magic robots that hear the word and then shut you down. But actually what happens is that the algorithm is, the AI is clever enough to assess your content more generally, and you talking about all this stuff is against that terms of service, and the way you say stuff and the things you say can be reviewed by a human and you still won't get the tick. But just simply saying the word won't get you shut down. But you're naive and weird about it.
So to me, right, well, I'm just a fool.
Yes.
This foolish mind.
Yes, that's the truest thing you've said all night.
If all the family knew that Nicola would never leave that dog unattended, why aren't they thinking she was abducted? And that's why I keep coming back to the elephant in the room, because they know otherwise. Put yourself in this position. You have a sister who's in love with her dog, thinks it's a child. The dog's found roaming wild in the field, and your sister's missing. My thoughts are she's been abducted. Everybody else's thoughts are she unalived herself. Why not abducted theory? Why is it just unalived herself? What evidence have they got that takes them down this bloody route? That's the last thought you'd have about your relation. Yeah.
I think, wasn't it the case that, like, this is so fucked up in so many ways, wasn't it the case that because there was a lack of evidence of any foul play, they didn't think that? Like, that's the same with the, like they said, I remember them saying, like, there's a lack, that we have no evidence that there has been any foul play. And I was like, well, look harder. But this also annoys me because you go back to the Madeleine McCann case where they screamed abduction from day one. And some people, including me, were like, I don't think she's been abducted. Maybe you should look at this with a wider, scope and not just jump to the weird conclusion that she's been abducted. Maybe something else happened. So in the Madeleine McCann case, you don't want them to be saying that she's abducted. That's a load of bollocks. But in this case, you think the family should have been, day one, she's been abducted. Somebody make sure they trace all the vans in the area because she's definitely been abducted, everyone. I think what would have probably happened is they would have had a talk with the police, the family, and they would have said, we're going to do these interviews. They'd have some sort of liaison, and they would have said, look, we probably don't think it's a good idea to go on telly and say, can the abductor please free her? Even if she has been abducted. Like, they've got protocol about that, haven't they? Because it gives the abductor, like, this sense of importance and, stuff like that. So initially in your first press conferences, it's, if she's out there, if anyone's got any information, it's not, she's been abducted. Like, Madeleine McCann parents did that. They fucking did that. And look how that worked out. Look what everyone said about that. I mean, I don't know about this. I think it's a real reach to say, because the family didn't say on their media interviews that they thought she'd been abducted because she wouldn't have left the dog. Like, hang on, wait, what we're saying is because that, and because they knew she was struggling mentally over Christmas, what are we saying? This is Alan all over. This is him. I've seen him do it with the Ruseks again, like in real time more recently. And now it's the Bulley case, so I can follow this shit. Don't get confused, don't get tired, because it's been a long episode, as Alan likes to rely on. Ultimately, what is he saying? The family are in some way implicated. He's casting aspersions over her family. What is he saying? He's not saying it. He's not drawing the conclusion. He's throwing a lot of juggling balls up in the air and then walking out the room. And when they all fall on the floor, he's coming in and going, oh, that's a mess. Oh, that's a mess there, isn't it? That's a mess. Throwing up all these, like, juggling balls full of, like, fart bomb and glitter. And then when he walks out the room, they all smash on the floor. There's a big mess everywhere and it all stinks. Alan, oh, you've got a big mess on the floor there. I didn't say it, though. I didn't make the mess. I didn't do it. I just was juggling. I was just juggling. Just juggling.
Abduction was never mentioned anywhere, apart from by me.
Big ups Seaman Staines and Mean Green.
And a few others. I'm not saying she was abducted, but it was a scenario.
Oh, you're not saying she was abducted, but now it's a scenario.
And if I was her sister at the inquest, I said, she just said her dog was everything. So why is it left unattended?
So if you were at the press conference for one of your missing relatives, you would have been crying it's an abduction based on the dog being unattended. Therefore, like, it's the problem we've got here is that it's okay for Alan to sort of say, this is weird. Yeah, like we were doing that weeks and weeks and weeks and months ago when we were watching the Nicola Bulley case, yeah? But like, for him to just be on the internet now saying it's weird, where's the therefore? Where's the follow through? Where's the logic? Where's the argument? What are you trying to say?
Rebecca Gray was Nicola's GP, the first witness on the second day. She explained that Nicola was spoken about having anxiety and was prescribed antidepressants and beta blockers. The doctors ran blood tests and the results all came back as normal. Dr. Gray also said there was no mention of any suicidal feelings or self-harm, and there was nothing to suggest he was suicidal.
I assume there's going to be something to say because he's got a report that he's reading. You know, I assume they're going to have drawn a conclusion. Like, Alan is, I tell you what he's suffering with here. Like, you saw him blinking in his face there as well. I saw him blinking, where it set in his mind. That doesn't make, like, it doesn't make me look good what I'm saying. Like, I think Alan realises that his team behind him in the early days, whoever it was in his Spanners group early days, they've gone. And they were the ones that had the good ideas, made the good content for him behind the scenes. And now he's got, like, like, in terms of football, like, he can understand, you know, numbers on YouTube. He used to have a Division 1 team. He wasn't Premier League. Let's get that clear. He was never a million subscribers Premier League. But he used to have a Division 1 team. He did. He used to, like, you know, Super Alan manager, was sat on the sidelines while his Division 1 team played football and won him a few games and, like, you know, got him a bit of success on the old YouTube. He had a cup run. But they've all left now. All those quality players have gone off. They hate him. He's not got the sack, but instead the club has dropped down the league. Alan needs the sack, but it's his own club. He owns it. So he's dropped down the league instead. And now Alan's at, like, Division 4. He's on his way to his Vauxhall Conference. Wouldn't be a surprise to me. You know, he's on his way to the Vauxhall Conference. His team now, Angry Alan's team, are not doing good content. Like, they're not writing good stuff. They're not editing good stuff. They're not making good thumbnails. Like, they're going to get him relegated even further. That's what's happening here, I think. No offence to those who are behind the scenes writing his content for him, but it's just not that good. It just doesn't cut the mustard. Certainly not in terms of what Alan's trying to do on his channel. It's just not good enough. Like, Alan knows it. Alan knows it as well.
They're all saying that, aren't they? No one's saying a word about a possible abduction. It's all of it is trained towards.
And now he spins his bit. You know, he reads the little paragraph and then spins a bit of Alan. You know,
that she's likely to have been suicidal or not. You know, the abduction's nowhere to be seen, is it? Yeah, she went missing and she wasn't found for nearly, God knows how many days in the water. If she's missing and if they can't find her in the water, isn't the thought to be that she was abducted? Wouldn't that be a big scenario? She fell in the river and died that day. The river's like this deep. Can't find her. Oh, right. Well, maybe she was abducted. Don't say that. Well, maybe she was abducted. Don't say that. Maybe she was taken off somewhere else and killed somewhere. Don't say that. Yeah, but she's not in the water. Yeah, she's not in the water, but she probably fell in. Why didn't they find her? Well, she must have, like, got over the weir somehow, you know. Like, well, dead bodies sink to the bottom of the water, and the water's 3 to 6 foot deep. And you had the best divers in the country there, and you had drones, and you had helicopters, and you had sniffer dogs, you had caliber dogs, you had 2 or 3 sorts of divers, you had men rescue, you had coast guards, and you couldn't find her in waters this deep? No, I couldn't find her. So she was abducted then? No, she wasn't abducted. Where's the logical thinking?
The police were investigating, weren't they? So I don't think the police behind the scenes said she's not been abducted. I think they might have investigated to see if she had been abducted. And Canada dogs, not cadaver dogs, yeah. And this is gaslighting what he's doing. Because he just played the role of the police then and all this, and played the role of everyone else. And, like, that's not exactly how things went. That conversation that he just had is not how things went down. You know? Not behind the scenes, not in front of the scenes. Like, Alan wasn't making videos screaming about Nicola being abducted all the time. He was making videos implicating the same people as I was, wasn't he? Paul Ansell and Emma White. And what, like, you know, the reason I was implicating Paul Ansell and Emma White was because they were implicating themselves with the things they were saying. So I was highlighting that on my channel and sort of having a lot of fun sometimes as well, because their characters are pretty seedy in a way. But, like, I don't know. I'm not doing this, that's for sure. But Alan is, and it's fucking bad.
Abducted then? No, she wasn't abducted. Where's the logical thinking?
Where's yours?
I've been given this to read to you. Louis said,
the logical thinking is, if she was abducted, the van would have had to be parked either at X or at Y. And have we got any CCTV from those areas? Have we got CCTV from up the road? Have we got any CCTV from dash cams and stuff like that? They were definitely following those lines of inquiry at the start. Like, the only other aspect is the caravan site, isn't it? And maybe he's trying to draw around to that. And like, we maybe can do episodes in the future talking about this sort of stuff. I don't want to sort of, the only, like, when I used to do Nicola Bulley content, and which, you know, I'm not completely exhausted of things to say about that, obviously, but happy to give it a bit of a break. Want to get Eddie on and have an interview with him, and then, you know, see where it goes from there. I'm going to do some more about the implications of the inquest and some of the things that have come up through that. One of the problems that Alan's got here,
I've been given this to read to you.
I've been given this to read to you.
No, I can find her. So she's abducted then? No.
About abducted, is that back then, I mean, for example, for example, there were witnesses in the park, weren't there? People who said they'd saw her, this and that. You know, there weren't witnesses in the park who said they saw her and she was being chased by a man and stuff like that. You know, the police had different ways of verifying whether it was likely that she'd been abducted, or likely that she'd fallen in the river, or more likely this or that. So you've got that. On top of this, it red flags and waves red flags at the caravan site and the place where they did the fishing up the other end. And we did, like, I remember on day one of this, when I did it on the computer, brought up the map, zoomed in on the area, looked at the places, and I said, well, they want to check that caravan site. And then I remember a couple of days later, they checked the caravan site. So we assumed, and I'm not confident the police did a full thorough forensic search, but we assumed that the police had talked to the people on the caravan site, had checked the caravan site. So it's not like at the time we should have said, yeah, but even though the police have just done their due diligence on that site, I still think that they've abducted them. Like, that felt like it was on the list of things that could have been, like, was she abducted by someone? Was it the caravan site? Was it this? And that one got sort of crossed off through the process of the investigation. Now, I'm not here at this end of it saying I'm completely happy that that is completely crossed off. Like, through the inquest, I learned a lot more that made me think a lot more differently about other possibilities. And I'm quite happy to go into those in the future at some point. But, like, for Alan to say all that time, why wasn't anyone screaming that she'd been abducted, is ridiculous, because we did talk about it as a possibility. Like, I definitely talked about it as a possibility on the internet, definitely. Like, where's he getting this rubbish from?
No, she wasn't abducted. Where's the logical thinking? I've been given this to read to you. Louis said, Nikki did have a blip over the Christmas period with HRT. However, come January, she started getting back to normal. She was back on the HRT and back to work.
This is interesting, isn't it? Because he's got the notes in front of him. They send him stuff so he's got on the computer so he can read it. They've got the internet chat group on the Facebook. But this person, Kaka, has sent him a personal private text message or a WhatsApp group message, like, or something. You know, it's on his phone. It's not on his computer. And yet he's conducting his show from the computer, isn't he? So you'd think that it would be more likely that they would send him it to his computer. So why has she got Hotline Alan? And why does he use it for this purpose live instead of his actual computer, which he sat in front of reading from? It's weird, isn't it?
Nikki, her drinking did increase. January, when she died, she started to get back to her normal self. After Christmas, where there was a problem at Christmas, she started to get back to herself, but she started drinking. She was back on the HRT to control the menopause, and she went back to work and went back to a normal Nikki. And then she says her drinking did increase. So normal Nikki, he drinks a lot, and nothing wrong with that. A lot of people drink a lot. If she went back to a normal Nikki and her drinking increased, then normal Nikki is a social drinker or more.
Oosh.
Discussing January the 10th when the ambulance was called, Louis said it was a bit of a wake-up call for her, I think. Well, Louis, you're the one that woke her up. You're the one that called it.
I'm going ready salted
She was
tonight.
fuming with me for calling the damn ambulance. She thought I'd overreacted. And Louis says, well, maybe I did, but she's my sister. And I was concerned. Well, why were you concerned? You've seen her drunk before. You know she has a problem, a long-term problem with drink. There's nobody going to say she didn't. What did she do to make you so concerned? Did she threaten her own life? Did you call the health professionals because she was threatening her own life? She had a blip over Christmas and a throwaway line where she was going to harm herself over Christmas. Isn't that not a problem?
If only Alan was taken more seriously by people in the world, if only Alan had managed to build himself a legitimate media platform with his channel, he could actually approach these people and interview them. But instead, he's just some old nutter rambling a load of shit, not getting any answers to any of the questions that he throws up, conjuring conspiracy, making people's turning. What he's really doing, that's okay. This is sometimes Scotty Hottie hits on things. This is part of his narcissism. Is what he's Can you notice that it's people's emotions, it's their motivations, it's their feelings, the things that you can't really record on CCTV or prove, but he's making up these stories about people's feelings and their behaviors. And in a way, it's almost like, it feels like a weird. I think maybe one of the reasons I hate Alan so much is because I love psychology and the works of all the psychologists that I've read about and the things I've learned about how people behave and human behavior and people's feelings and their mental health and feelings and thoughts and behaviors. And we do thus trying to examine some of the more interesting and elaborate and bizarre human behavior and all the different worlds of psychology. And here's a man who maybe doesn't understand all that thoroughly, but is prepared to use any of it he can get his hands on to manipulate for his own ends, to take the most sacred of human, what it means to be human, your soul, your emotional center, and to take that and make up lies about somebody else's and say, oh, I can see what they're saying, oh, it was this and they said that, and oh, they're really like this, and you don't know them at all and you haven't got a clue. And I feel like there is a weird parallel in me doing that in my content, body language analysis, drawing out conclusions, being empathetic to people, trying to put myself in their shoes and imagine what they're thinking and feeling and then voice it. And should I critique myself in the same way? Do I just make up a load of stories and put a load of bollocks out there into the world and I'm completely wrong about people's motivations and I've got it completely wrong? Maybe sometimes. Maybe I can't be right about everyone. To see it like this makes me wonder about my own content sometimes, like makes me want to hold myself to a higher standard. I've got to be careful, haven't I, that I don't turn out like Alan. Using Louise's feelings about her sister as the core of his conjecture in today's content. Her feelings about her sister.
Louise last saw Nikki on Friday, the 13th of Jan, having stayed with her sister days after the incidents in January. Well, there's a piece of the puzzle. Louise called the ambulance because she was afraid for her mental well-being, not because she was drunk. The normal Louise went back to drinking more after the incident, and after Christmas she went back to drinking. Louise stayed at the house for 2 more days instead of going to work, I suppose. Yet, she didn't go to the hospital with Nikki the next day. Nikki went on her own. So, why does Louise Cunningham say, again, I don't like this. I don't like this inquest. Ask whether she would leave the dog by her fur on to consider the end of her life. Absolutely not. There's no way Nikki would leave Willow unattended. She would never leave a dog alone. But here's the line that Louise was prepared to say to the family's own lawyer. Louise said Nicola had never, ever confided in her about having suicidal thoughts or anything related. That's not true. Why did she not say about the Christmas thing?
It's not true. The wording there is confided. I think what they're asking her is, have you had like an intimate one-on-one conversation with Nikki where she said, I am feeling suicidal, I'm feeling really down? And is that is like circumstantially different from, were you there that Christmas when Nikki said, oh, I'll fucking kill myself if you lot don't fucking pull your shit together? Do you know what I mean? Like, does he not understand what the question is that's being asked of Louise here? Does he think that because Louise was in the room when Nikki said something about killing herself whilst in a drunken argument of some kind, does he think that that equates to, in a court of law, if you were asked, did Nicola ever confide in you that she was feeling suicidal, you should say, yes, absolutely, there was that one Christmas where she yelled it out in the room, I was there. That's confiding in me, isn't it? Semantics, Alan. You either don't understand them or are deliberately misleading people. You're a fucking dick.
Everybody wanted accidental death. Everybody made sure they didn't tell us certain things for certain reasons. Everybody had an agenda. The family's agenda, for God's sake, don't portray that she's going to kill herself. Which is fair enough, because that's going to be online forever. But no one's interested in the abduction, are they? No one's interested in the body being missing for a hell of a long time. Everybody wants
stupid, Alan?
Slipping in the water by the bench, apart from us.
Everyone's interested in that.
In the water by the bench.
That's why we made all that content about it, you fucking twat.
She fell in. There was no crime scene. There was no...
I will say they were interested in it. I don't know today if you literally... And we'll see. We will see. Because I'm starting to get angry at the powers that be on YouTube now in some way, that this man is deigned to achieve 300 people on a live and 2,000 views on this. You know, this is not... Months later to do the same thing again. The same thing again. He's going to have this on a 5-month cycle. You'll see this video again about... What are we in now? We're September, aren't we? October, November, December, January. In about January, February, he'll probably do it again. January, February. Oh, it's Nicola Bulley went missing on this exact day a year ago. Let's do the same episode as we did a year ago on this exact day. And it'll all just start again. And it's on an endless cycle. Like, there's nothing new here. The only new thing here is that Alan is really heavily pinning his flag to the mast of, I think she was abducted. Which is completely different to what he was saying all that time ago when he was certainly sure he had all the key evidence and the critical thing to bust the case open. And look, here's the tennis ball and Emma White and the tennis ball. And like Alan now thinks certainly Nicola Bulley was abducted. So, but he hasn't said that. He's just saying, why was no one asking questions about her being abducted when... Hang on, does that mean he thinks she's been abducted? See, even now I can't quite... What he's saying, just to be straight, is that a while ago, when she first went missing, no one suggested she'd been abducted and no one went on the news and stuff and said she'd been abducted. And in the inquest, no one said she'd been abducted. That's what he's saying, yeah?
Fingerprints, there was nothing. So we know she's on beta blockers and stuff like that. Her own doctor said there was no mention of any suicidal feelings or self-harm. And there's nothing to suggest she was suicidal, right? So that's her doctor. So why are you calling a mental health team to the house on January the 10th? Why is there a mental health professional who's probably higher than a doctor in the house.
Hang on, did we say it was a mental health team? I thought it was just a community health team, and that could have covered mental health and stuff like that, but could also cover all sorts of things. You know, it could be about relationships or any. Like, I mean, the core of it might not be that Nicola Bulley was having a mental health episode and that she required the mental health team. That has not been established as fact.
Knows nothing about it. How does the doctor not know at the inquest about the visit on the 10th by a mental health professional, which Dr. Gray downgrades to don't worry about it, nothing to see here. Her sister says she has no suicidal thoughts, but we do know she had something happen at Christmas. Teresa Lewis Levy, who was a mental health clinician who was involved in the home treatment team.
Well, aren't you explained? Didn't you just explain? He did say one point. He said that the family's lawyer for the inquest had been hired to make it look like she was an accidental death rather than a suicide, because they don't want her name to be tarnished with the idea that she killed herself, right? So for that reason, Alan, that's why people are very careful to not sort of point the finger at the victim and say she's definitely fucking topped herself. Look, I think she's definitely topped herself all the way through the investigation. That's why, Alan, probably. And if it's your relative, even more reason why you're less likely to run. I mean, unless you're really like, you know, different people, different feelings, different, you know, behaviours. But you know, unless you're really one way or the other, like, you might not want to run around just fucking yelling about it like that. Like, is he okay? Is he okay?
And the vehicle that responded, which is the mental health team's vehicle. So we've got Teresa Levy, mental health clinician, was in the vehicle. So although the police didn't switch on the body cam, we have the girl, lady, nurse that went to the house.
I'd have to check that. That's in their notes, not mine. I'd have to check that.
This is vital because it's like not hearsay, it's his first-hand witness statement with no acts to grind, right? A health professional that was sent to the house on that fateful day, January the 10th. Was it 17th? Can't remember.
Can't remember which day it was, but it doesn't really matter, does it?
He gave an assessment.
It wasn't the 17th, was it? That was 17 days before her. It was damn really... Like, how are you good at cards if you can't remember the numbers?
Of Nicola, and said that she had been drinking, but at the time felt she wasn't displaying symptoms of depression. So she was drunk. She was drunk. The lady that went just told you she was drinking. That's January the 10th. January the 11th, she walked into a walking centre at Fleetwood. Why go to Fleetwood? And said she'd fallen and banged her head the previous night.
Yeah, I remember. See, what, you know, there's double things that make me annoyed about this is that there's so many things. I'm actually, you know, I remember that Stinky made that video of us all having a laugh. Like, instead, this is making me annoyed today. So it's just how it is. But I think everyone will understand why. Is that Alan has walked around like he's some sort of. Yeah, he used to have the thing on his header of his channel about domestic violence. He's walked around like he's some sort of crusade against domestic violence, and he hasn't spotted that someone having a health check called on them, then going in the next day and saying they think they banged their own head. In Nicola Bulley's position, like, he hasn't put these things together. And like what he has connected up is something else that's weird. That, like, so what are you saying? This confuses the fuck out of me as well. Is he saying that she was definitely abducted now, right? Or that why have we ruled out abduction? Why is everyone saying it was this and not that? And why isn't she saying that she was suicide? Like, and now we're saying that, like, you need to write. Like, you do need to take notes with Alan, because what is he saying now? Do you know what I mean? Like, now he's saying that what's most likely is that she was not... Like, the mental health professional said that she wasn't having a mental health episode, so she was just drunk. But earlier you were saying that she was definitely suicidal and her sister should have known it. And then you were saying that to go in the hospital the next day, she must have had something serious injury to, you know, to go in there. And I said, like, a concussion, like banging your head. And now he's saying that it was actually reported that's what happened. Like, I don't know where he's going to spin this next.
I was feeling drowsy and a bit sick. You know the expression, blind drunk? Nicola was so drunk, she banged her head. Fallen over and banged her head. She's probably not out cold. She's probably out cold. And her sister had to call an ambulance.
Now Nicola's out cold, banged her head, and she's out cold. And it's her own fault because she's blind drunk. Rest in peace, Nicola Bulley. But Alan thinks you were fucking... Hey, what are you doing, dog? You're alright, you're not messing with anything, are you? You're alright, you're being good, yeah? Oosh. I hate it. I hate it so much, actually. Hate's a strong word, isn't it? But this I hate, is blaming the victim of potentially domestic violence. We don't know what went on there. You know, we're not doing... I'm not doing a Nicola Bulley episode here. I'm critiquing one. But potentially blaming the victim of domestic violence and suggesting the most likely... If a woman needs a health check and the woman comes around and says she's drunk, and then the next day she goes in the hospital with a bangy head, she banged her own head because she's a stupid drunk woman. Like, that's your conclusion? You're not... Like, you're more worried that she got abducted on the day of her disappearance than you are that in her own home someone might have banged her head and she didn't want to talk about it to the people that came round, like the police. What are you talking about, Alan? This is disgraceful.
And she was sick everywhere. And she was drowsy.
That's concussion.
Fleetwood was so concerned that they sent her to A&E in Blackpool, where a head scan found no internal injuries. Exactly what I thought, right?
You're right. Is that what happened? Because earlier you said that they probably scanned her at the hospital. She probably had an x-ray. So now we know all sorts of things about what happened, do we, Alan? So what you said earlier, where you made your wild conjecture, has now been turned out to be wild conjecture because you didn't read your own notes. And she did have... it's just fucking ridiculous, isn't it?
Go and check out. You fall on your head. You're going to need a scan. And instead of taking her away that night, she promised to go the next day, which she did. And she did it with a minimum of fuss on her own. And there was no injuries to her head.
Because, as I said earlier, concussion develops over time, doesn't it? On the time you might feel fine, but later on you might feel woozy and drowsy and sick, nauseous. Big up, Star
I
Ace.
see why Louise called at midnight.
It's midnight, officially 2 minutes
At
past.
one stage over Christmas, 2021. Not 2022, 2021.
I've got Alan on 1.5 speed.
She felt it might be causing her low moods.
Thankfully, play some more video that we can skip.
However, she frequently restarted it and said this did improve her hot flushes of the menopause. Complicated, right? Teresa Lewis Levy. January the 10th, 2023, just 2 weeks before she went missing, Nikki's sister, Louise Cunningham, called the mental health team and asked for some assistance with her sister.
Like, what's going on here is that someone's made him a detailed file of notes, and it's almost like every episode Alan has, they need to write him. It's almost like someone on his team thinks they've got a bit of legal going on about them, isn't it? It feels like they're trying to create. It's almost like they're doing a court case, and like this is their case, and this is all the evidence that suggests Nicola Bulley was some drunken knobhead who banged her own head and fell in the river, or was abducted. And this is all the evidence that suggests it. And this is all the stuff we can throw at Louise, all in a notepad. And Alan's just reading through it on his stream. A script, yeah, but not a proper script. Not a proper script. I don't want to give them any tips, okay? But they're not good script writers. It's just like a series of notes. And what Alan should be doing as the armchair detective, the person that runs his stream, is taking that as source material, verifying it first, taking it as source material, if you can, comfortably accept that the people you're working with give you good source material, and then writing a script, doing something with it. But he does it all on the fly. So he's just reading it and then reacting to it in the same way as I'm watching him and reacting to him. He's reading and reacting to his own notes that are given to him by Kaka. And Kaka has written them in the form of an argument to sort of implicate or throw shade. These are all the points that you can aim at in this conversation, isn't it? So it's not like what Alan would be better off with is a full and complete set of notes that go through, and he should be able to have them in his head like I have about the Nicola Bulley case. Of course, I'm not perfect, not like word perfect. I'm not like photographic memory, but most of the stuff that I've covered, I think I can remember what we did and what was said and what was going on. And like to have that, but if I wanted to do what Alan's doing, which is to keep fucking going on about it, I would think that I'd want to have a complete overview of notes and be able to use that and say, right, which things am I saying today and where do I need to verify? And when I do need to verify it, I'll put it up on the screen and people can see it, and then like be creating his media. But he's not doing that. He's doing a live stream because he doesn't have to edit, because he can't edit. And this is what I'm saying as well. I think he used to have a better editor. I think he used to have someone who edited for him and they were better. And I think he used to have someone who wrote his scripts for him and they were better. And I think now he's not got such good people. And sorry, Kaka, but I don't think much of this format where you put together like an argument in note form and Alan tries to, on the fly, understand what you're writing and deliver it as a coherent video. And I don't think it adds up. And I think Alan's not good at it. And I don't think you're that good at it either. And I don't think you should feed him with this stuff. I think you should let him see how he sinks on his own, swims or sinks on his own, give him a week off your services and see what he can get up to. You know, you've obviously had a couple of days off while he didn't need anything from you. But, or maybe it's a good thing that you're doing this, because although I think this really shouldn't get any views, it does seem to get some, but overall, you know, it's never going to grow and succeed and be anything. Like, Alan has reached his absolute maximum limit with this shit. Absolute maximum.
Family were concerned with her increased alcohol use. Did you get that from her mum and dad and sister when Nikki was missing? No. So there's proof that they were withholding stuff. Although they're all saying, oh, please help us find Nikki. How can I put this? A lot of people get drunk and fall in rivers. A lot of people do that.
So why didn't you, like, this troubles me as well, because he's now making a completely different point, right? Which is he saying that, like, the problem with this is there's no coherent line of thought here, is there? Like, is he saying now that Nikki got drunk and fell in the river? Because I think that's what he just said. And should the relatives, instead of being calling for an abduction, it was an abduction, should they have been on the telly saying, listen, she was fucking drunk all the time, our Nikki. So instead of, if you're out there, please come home, what we want to say is, has anyone been to the off license recently and seen her there? And can you check your top shelf of your house, because if there's any bottles missing, she might be hiding in your cellar. Otherwise, she's probably dead in the river. I hope they find her there. Like, do you think that would have been a better press conference? Like, what's going on?
Why do we think she wasn't drinking that morning? Why is someone that we know has significant issues with drink?
You've got significant issues with drink, haven't you, Alan?
Was she suspected to be drinking that morning?
Alan's got issues.
So they know she had trouble with drink. Is that what the police know? And that's why they said no one else was involved. I know the police were. If someone's an alcoholic, I don't know if she was or not, I don't know. If somebody's alcoholic and they disappear by a river, they're going to think they fall in the river. Honestly, that's what the police are going to think.
That's the Bristol pusher. That's his modus operandi, is the Bristol pusher. He goes after people who are drunk on a night out and pushes them in. I can't believe he's just admitted it on the tellies. Am I having is this really happening? I swear, right, it's going to turn out, I swear it's going to turn out that Angry Alan, and we'd better fucking catch him. Otherwise, if he goes to his grave like Jimmy Savile and then it all comes out later and, like, you know, we need to catch him while he's alive, thanks. If it turns out that he's the fucking pusher, I swear. Exmouth, now he's moved down there. Bristol, when he used to live up there. He said the Bristol pusher stopped because he died. But no one in Bristol knows that the Bristol pusher died. He was never caught. In fact, it's more likely that Alan's got that fantasy in his head because he's pretending that he's dead because he's moved. So the Bristol pusher's dead in Bristol. Like, he's moved, he's dead, he died. I stopped doing it. But maybe he does it sometimes. You know, maybe he does it sometimes. And he goes out and he goes to the gay club and he'll get fruity with some young fella. And then he'll say, do you want to come back to mine? And, you know, he's having his little bit of fun and he's had his little, you know, he's popped his little load in his pants and go down the river for a kissy. And then it's like, push you in the fucking river. Or he might just, you know, wander around looking for people who are that fucked that they end up getting pushed in the river. Maybe I think he's having a bit of play with them beforehand. They go in the river and they're dead in the river and he's happy because he's done a murder, and it's just the sort of murder Alan would do. You know, like strangling someone's like so visceral and you have to like physically be there in the moment and do it, don't you? And it's like, you know, like arguably quite a cowardly act, I suppose, but Like, do you know what I mean? Like, fighting someone's not a coward yet, but sneaking up and giving someone a push is a coward's way of killing someone, isn't it? So that's Alan. And he's just said about the modus operandi of how that works here on his stream, where he's thinking his way through other people's thoughts. Yeah. Good old Alan. Super Alan.
Expected to be drinking that morning. So they know she had trouble with drink. Is that what the police know? And that's why they said no one else was involved. I know the police were. If someone's an alcoholic, I don't know if she was or not, I don't know. If somebody's alcoholic and they disappear by a river, they're going to think they fall in the river. Honestly, that's what the police are going to think. That's going to be their working hypothesis. If they're dealing with somebody that's alcoholic and it can't be found, and there's no CCTV of her leaving or coming or going, they're going to go, she's in the river. That's not Sherlock Holmes work. That's like, she's in the river.
But that contradicts. Okay, so whilst it completely upholds the idea that he's still the Bristol Pusher, it completely contradicts the idea that everything he said on his stream so far, doesn't it? Because I thought he was crying that she's been abducted. Why aren't they saying she's abducted? Well, they're saying that she was in the river, weren't they? And no, they didn't. Someone in chat said, no, Paul said that they weren't. She's not in the river. But before that, they were looking in the river. And he only said it because they exhausted the river. Who said she's an alcoholic? No one said she's an alcoholic. Back then, they didn't say she was an alcoholic. It came out later that she had vulnerabilities and difficulties with alcohol, and everyone critiqued them for bringing that to the table weeks later in the second press conference. Alan's an alcoholic, that's for sure. I used to drink a lot, and I decided to stop because I felt like I was being an alcoholic, or becoming one, or whatever, relying on it, and I decided to stop. So I can give you a top tip in your life, in anyone else's life. Do what you fucking want. There's my top tip. Do what you fucking want. But for me, stopping drinking was very, very beneficial. He says with his... This is not gin. I promise it's not gin. It's in a bottle from the supermarket. It's definitely not gin. I've dropped the lid now. I'll have to drink all of that tonight. Hey.
They were wrong. And the super they were wrong because they couldn't find the body. Once they couldn't find the body, they had a problem. She's thinking of an issues with alcohol. She slipped and she's fallen in the river. Blah, blah. But they couldn't find the body. Couldn't find the body.
Repeating that now because you haven't
once they couldn't find the body,
the thread of what you're talking about.
Out the window, in my opinion, and they were struggling because they wanted to say, "Wow, she's vulnerable and she had these problems when she found the river." Because they couldn't find the body, everything changed in my mind, and a lot of people's minds. If they found the body in the first 5 minutes, I'd have probably said, "Yes, she probably did slip in." But no, there was no sign of her slipping in, and they didn't.
If they found the body in the first 5 minutes, I would have said, "Yeah, she probably did slip in." Armchair detective cracking cases.
Didn't find the body, which means something else happened. Let me put it this way: something happened. I'll put it another way: something definitely happened.
Welcome to the world of Nicola Bulley content from, what is it now, 6 months ago?
So we're getting somewhere. Now you've got to remember, this is important. I'm looking at a nurse that was there.
I think I got a thumbnail then, hang on. Like that. I mean, look at the big arm. Why is one of his arms so big? Is he all right? Is he all right? I don't think he's okay. I think this is serious. I think this is an issue. Gigantus armus. Like, what's going on here with his arm? Why is one arm so fucking big? Has he been doing the Popeye? This is his masturbation arm, isn't it? Been coming. What's going on with his fucking arm? If I got to fight him in the boxing ring and he's got a normal arm and one fucking giant arm, I'm going to have trouble. I didn't realise that I was going up against some sort of monster. Give me the monster! This man's a monster. Look at him. Look at his arm. The one close to me is just fucking ginormous. The one further from me, he's got the ham hock going on, but... what? The arm. You think Bill Clinton hair? What? Look at the arm. The Bill Clinton. I don't like the arm.
Important.
Rubbing the old head there.
I'm looking at a nurse that was there.
Looking at a nurse that was there. What?
And the person you need to listen to is Teresa Levy.
Levy.
Levy says that she was called to the home and asked to help with her sister. It doesn't say Louise was concerned with her. It says the family was concerned. So, yeah, Mum and Dad did know about this drinking.
No, it doesn't. He's reading into things that are not. That's like we've been through this on my previous episode, so I'm not going to go over and over. But you can't say because the family said it means that the parents knew. Again, you don't say that they don't know. You say that you don't know because it's not confirmed. Because it says the family, I was asking which member of the family. Was it the sister? Was it? And then we had it confirmed at the inquest that it was the sister. There we go. You don't. You can't.
Problem. She didn't want to engage with her children. And listen to this. And I know this from a lot of people. I've dealt with this myself, right? I've dealt with depression myself. And this line, whenever you speak to people don't want to die.
He knows about depression. He doesn't. He's not saying he's had it himself, thank God. I thought he was going to go down that road, but he said I dealt with it. Meaning other people have had depression around him, of course, because they've had to put up with his fucking bullshit. They hate him, and being around Alan makes you depressed. And then, like, driven to suicide. He's don't even start me.
Depression myself. And this line, if ever you speak to people don't want to die. Believe it or not. The ones that do die, they don't want to die, they just don't care if they live or die. Trust me.
Sometimes, although other times people feel that there's no other way out and that it's an escape. So they might care, but it's gone beyond their ability to reason with that care. Like, you don't really understand it, do you, Alan?
It's not that, right, I want to end my life. It's I don't care if I live or die.
It's not a sense of belligerence that I've decided that I'm so depressed that I don't cut my hair anymore, I grow a beard, and if I inadvertently get hit by a truck when I'm crossing the road, it doesn't matter, so I won't look. It's not necessary. That can happen, but it's more of a conscious choice based on one's inability to deal with the situation, feelings, to cope, I guess, to manage. And that's difficult because we're humans, and some things are very difficult to cope with and manage, to live with. But some people go through this, and in their darkest hours, if they feel they're struggling, they might look for an escape, I think, is a way to look at that, like in a grown-up way. But Alan, I don't really want to, now we're doing this on this episode, and it's just not, can we just carry on? It's dragging, Alan, this is dragging.
Family are better off without me. There's less trouble for them if I'm not here. These are the thoughts of a person that wants to end it. I know. And the line is from the lady that was there that night that Nicola said, quote, Nicola said she didn't want to be here on this. That means she didn't want to be on this planet. And yet.
That means she didn't want to be on this planet. He's taking a direct quote and manipulating it to mean something else. But you're saying that mental health professional asked her, this is what Alan is saying, is that a mental health professional at a mental health check asked Nicola if she was okay, and Nicola told her she didn't want to be here, meaning on this planet. And the mental health professional noted it down and said she's got no mental health problems. Like, I would call, and I was at the time saying the IOPCC report, we need to question whether these services have failed Nicola, but that sort of failing I don't think I was accusing them of. Directly being told that she felt suicidal and then ignoring it completely and putting it off as her being drunk. I'm not sure it happened, not the way Alan's telling us.
Is this the line? Is this the hypothesis? Is this the elephant in the room? Did something happen that made them believe that Nicola did not want to be on this planet anymore?
Well, no, because they wouldn't have just walked out of the room and said that she was just drunk and maybe to check her head at the morning.
I'm totally engaged with that line because I've thought it myself. Didn't want to be here is the line that goes through your mind over and over and over and over again.
Did he just say he's been there himself? He's not gonna. I'm not to get angry about this. And if Alan sees me getting angry, he's gonna feed off my emotions. And I'm not. But this is pretty poor stuff from Alan. This is pretty poor stuff because remember he's beaten people about the head and neck with the mental health hockey stick in the past. So to now claim that he has suffered with depression and knows all about it through this is it's Dark Side Phil level of low, and it's surprising me because Dark Side Phil did it recently this week as well. Had an incident where he's talking about depression on his stream. But I'm just going to let this play for a little bit. The dog's barking in the garden, bathroom break, and Alan's going to be awful.
More. I've been totally engaged with that line because I've thought it myself. Didn't want to be here is the line that goes through your mind over and over and over and over again. And it's not a throwaway line that they can say, well, she did say one thing. Oh, yeah, she never has suicidal thoughts. She's just given the biggest suicidal thought of all time. Sorry, unaliving thought of all time. Didn't want to be here is the truth, ladies and gents. She no longer wanted to be here. Even though she loves her dog and her 2 kids, she didn't want to be here. And that's why the team were called. The team arrived at Nikki's home at 7:30 p.m. Nikki's partner and Paul and sister Louise were there together, no children by the sound of it. Only Paul and Louise and her were there together with the police and paramedics. Were the children taken off to grandpa's and grandma? I don't know.
You don't know. And what he said about Nicola saying, I don't want to be here, could be read like that. She could have meant it like that. I assume that the mental health professionals would have looked for that, like I said. But also, it could mean something else entirely, couldn't it? It could have meant she didn't want to be here in this house, in this marriage, in this arrangement. It could have been all sorts of things. We don't have clarification, but Alan has definitely confirmed 100% that it means she was suicidal, which pulls holes in what he was saying earlier about her being abducted. So, fucking weird. I don't like it. He's a bad man. We're all confirmed on that, aren't we? 1.5 speed again. We might have to go up to 1.75
But Miss Lewis Levy is the best witness I've got to all this for you. She's not lying. She hasn't got an axe to grind. She hasn't got an agenda.
She's the best witness. An independent person who has never met Nicola before and has come in to a fracture scene and has to make on the scene decisions that she doesn't have full range of knowledge and baseline, and she doesn't have any long-term process with the patient. Like, she's your best witness. She's not your witness. You're not doing a court case. She's the best witness. I disagree.
She hasn't got an elephant in the room. She hasn't got anything other than the facts of what she did that night. And at last, we've got a health professional, not a policeman. Police are allowed to lie, remember? Police are allowed to lie.
But doctors and medical health people aren't.
Miss Lewis Levy has not got that implanted thought, I'm allowed to lie about this, or I can withhold this. She's just telling the truth.
And she said that she didn't think Nicola was suicidal, and she left the scene, didn't she? To go to the hospital the next day and have your head checked out if you still think that bump is bad. And yet, you're going to now twist what she said and say that Nicola was definitely... it just oh, man.
Nikki said she didn't want to be here. Nikki said that when she was alone in the red room with Lewis. Lewis says that Nikki was appropriately dressed. Not inappropriately. Right, okay, I'll spell it to you and tell me what it means. APP, I'm dyslexic, I need your help. It's a long word, right? APPROPRIATELY. Is that appropriately?
How can you spell it out like that if you're dyslexic? Am I wrong here? Maybe someone in chat can confirm or deny. My cousin, who is dyslexic, has described to me that the letters look so like an O could look like an E, could look like an A, and it's like they sort of... In fact, I've seen it on a video. So we're going to have a look for dyslexia simulator. Like, you see how the words are moving on this? These are different types of dyslexia. Like, visualized for people who don't have it. So they're not exact, but like the letters like look you know, it's hard to read the letters because they appear to be focused in different ways, changing, fucking about, you know what I mean? These are different forms of dyslexia on a simulator. I've never seen this one before, you know, but these are different forms of dyslexia, visual distortions that have been pointed out on this simulator, right? So I think also I've seen one where the actual letters like my cousin described how, like, and I can understand it. Maybe I'm, you know, maybe this is just one facet of it though. My cousin described like how he can see the letters, but they don't look as I see the letters to like consistently be E's or C's or D's or A's or, you know, maybe what I'm like, you know, he's like, it looks different, but it looks like letters, but it looks different, and like visual disturbance when reading. Yeah, Alan was able to just. I can't read the word because I'm dyslexic, but it's APPROIATLEY. You know, don't you think that's strange? I would have thought it would have still been hard to read every letter off the list, even though, I mean, I might be wrong. Maybe he doesn't have that form of dyslexia that makes it hard to read individual letters from a word that you are finding hard to read.
Means she was dressed properly, right? Inappropriately is IN, isn't it? I think it's appropriately dressed. I don't know why she needs to tell us she's appropriately dressed. I guess it's like she wasn't in her bedclothes, she was appropriately dressed for an evening.
It's important to tell us that, because if you turn up to the scene of someone and they're in mental distress and they're inappropriately dressed, then that's an issue, isn't it? Confirmed issue. But if they're appropriately dressed, then they seem to have some of their wits about them. So that's a tick in a box for their welfare. Just a small one, but an important one nonetheless.
Anyway, Lewis tells the truth.
Go on there.
Nicola appeared to be intoxicated. Nicola was drunk. She banged her head and was probably shouting all sorts of stuff like, I don't want to be here anymore, plus many other things they're not going to tell us. Nicola, I believe, was issuing threats to finish it. That's what it's not my words. Nikki didn't want to be here anymore.
Oosh.
The conversation was brief, and Nikki said she was tired and let me go to bed. Miss Lewis Levy said although Nikki was intoxicated, she wasn't slurring.
Not like you, Alan.
She was repetitive and kept saying she wasn't sure how this had happened.
That's just like you, Alan.
But although she kept saying she wasn't sure, this is bumping her head, but wasn't able to quantify that with an explanation.
This sounds like domestic violence to me. I fucking hate it. I said it at the time. We've been through it as an episode, so I've got my, you know, flag pinned to the mast on this one. My complete worry is that the reason she's not saying how it happened is because rather than just getting drunk and bumping her head, you're right, Cha-Cha, is that she has been through some sort of row with Paul and he's bumped her head. So
she said, well, why are you not sure it happened? You're here. And she couldn't give a reasonable explanation of why she slipped and fell. Now, we know that Nicola has a history of difficulty in taking hormone replacement therapy, HRT, according to the family. The family knew about that. She didn't get on with it. She did not get on with HRT. She gave it up and picked it up again, picked it up, picked it up and picked it up again.
The way he narrates the facts, it is like story time, Sanderson Rose. It is like Jack and Ori. Like, you know, he's got bare facts in front of him as notes, and he tries to dress them up and create an episode, and he thinks he's this great storyteller. It's disgraceful. Big ups, Jamie. It's disgraceful what you do as well with the videos. I like it. I forgot in that we did on live stream, and I forgot to get all the. I'm assuming people can leave you suggestions in your comments, but I forgot to get everyone in chat to make a big list of suggestions and do it as a big fun thing, because I've got lots of suggestions.
Over Christmas, which is the month before all this, very close time. But come January, after New Year's Eve, she started to get her life back to normal. She was back on HRT, back to work, and back to the normal Nikki. Said Louise. She also added, she's back to drinking. Are we getting anywhere near what was going on behind closed doors in Nicola's home?
Not through you, Alan. Not any closer than we have done anywhere before in the past. Not going over this old ground again. No.
What do we know? We know she was a drinker for quite some period of time. We know she was in trouble with the menopause for quite some period of time. She tried to balance that with hormone replacement over quite some period of time. She didn't get on with it. It gave her headaches and hallucinations, and she stopped it. And then she went back on with it. She had problems with this.
Did hallucinations come up ever? Headaches? Did they? I don't remember having that confirmed, but yeah.
Drink's a lot to do with this. But, of course, from the autopsy, there was no drink taken when she died. But why do they have CCTV footage but they don't show us? What is it shown in the CCTV footage that we're not supposed to see?
What are you talking about again? You've made up this concept that they had CCTV that they didn't show us. I don't remember that being a concept, a reality. Don't remember that being a thing about the case. I mean, I could be, again, I don't want to say, oh, they definitely don't have CCTV. Like, I remember them having CCTV that they didn't show us that came out from Jizzy True Crime that turned out to be completely all messed up and doctored, that you said had metadata that was writing on it that it wasn't really metadata, and it was and like all this bollocks, that you were all wrong about and I was all right about. Alan, you were wrong about it and I was right about it. But I don't remember them saying, oh, we've also got additional CCTV that says that we've seen her in this place, but we're not going to release that. I don't remember that.
And that's the elephant in the room.
No, that's the elephant in the room. There's been quite a few different elephants in this room. The room's filling up with elephants at this point.
Something happened. We can't see her that morning because it would give us a clue that we're not allowed to have. Hello.
Except they released CCTV images of her on the morning of her disappearance getting in the car. Am I right? Those same CCTV images that I've critiqued and said looked like she had something on her cheek, like a big mark on her cheek. Looked well iffy. But then we said that she was seen by people at the school and they would have seen marks on her face. So the one thing that makes this all fall apart, I suppose, is the testimony of the witnesses who said they saw her at the school or in the park. Because if they'd have seen her in distress and crying and doing weird shit, then they might have said something. So is Alan missing parts of the puzzle here? Or is he missing parts of his own puzzle? Is he a puzzle piece short of a jigsaw? Is he a banana squeeze short of a Durex variety pack? What's going on with Alan? Bad Alan.
Wise, of course. The police would have showed us the CCTV. Did you see this woman that morning? How was she filmed, but not in a way that we can see it? Why don't they show us a still of the CCTV? Why are they withholding the CCTV?
What CCTV?
Why was she drinking so much?
Ask yourself the same question, you nutter.
I don't know. Do the police have the evidence of what really happened that morning?
Well, they've got more evidence than you have, haven't they? I mean, all these questions and more will not be answered in part 2 because Alan just asks weird questions all the time.
What does the police have to say about it?
In fact, if you just edited and Jamie's in chat and Regardation Police might hear this at some point. If someone and Slinky Socks as well. I mean, I could probably do it, but I can't be asked. But if you just edited all the questions, and it's a long old fucking job. Like I've done it for. I'll show you a super edit I did in a minute. At the end of this, note to self: super edit at the end of this. But it's a long old job really to just edit out all the questions because there are a lot of them. But if you just edited from this, just every question and everything else, nothing. Just Alan just asking questions and just all the questions he asks. Just there's fucking loads of them, and it would as an edit that would like read really fucking weird like a good super edit should. Just Alan, you could call it Alan asking questions, and it's just him asking, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this, because that's what I'm hearing tonight. Fucking loads of questions.
Sharing her private, really private.
Oh, really private parts. That's going to be a good one for Regardation Police as well.
Information.
And now we're going to get a video that he's put on the internet before, so I'm going to skip all this, thank God. And we just got a final 8 minutes to endure. And endure it we shall.
Muddy the waters a bit, yes. Nicola did have problems with drink, long term. Long term. Nicola did threaten her own life, yes. Nicola did say...
Big ups, Nigel. The Kitchen Nightmare subreddit is one of my good ones. I was actually thinking of one I did on the WeirdTube of Coogan Cassius and Eddie. We'll look at it in a minute, because I had to edit just the names of the people, and it took forever, and it shouldn't have taken forever, and I decided to never do it again, but I'll show you in a minute.
Just a few weeks before she died, that she didn't want to be here anymore. So is that the elephant in the room? Did the police read that report? That I don't want to be here anymore? Phone the health person that I just told you about? Did they phone Miss Levy and she told them while she was threatening her own life? Did they combine threatening her own life with alcohol abuse and the troubles that she is having in life and form the hypothesis day one, because we can't see her leave the field, but we saw her arrive, then she's in the water? That could have all been done day one. They talk to her partner. Her partner says, all the stuff I've just told you.
Is he fucking off his head? Or is this not what a lot of people thought? Like, I remember having the conversation with Steve at the time and him saying, well, you know, a lot of people do commit suicide and this is quite, you know, fitting with the profile of people who commit suicide. And I was saying, yeah, but check out Paul Anson in his interview. He seems like a rotter. And like, there were a lot of people, even, hang on, wait. Michelle After Dark suggested that she went in the river and said that it was suicide, didn't she? And didn't Eddie Vinyl Break do impressions of Michelle After Dark saying, oh, she just slipped in the water? And then didn't Alan also critique those other channels and say that there's no way she's fallen in the water, and like the police think it's suicide and it's not? Like, why is this news? At this stage, it's like, I've put it all together and I figured out the police thought that she may have been like in the river. And so they searched the river, didn't they? It's like, this is what gaslighting is. This is what gaslighting is. We've listened to, I know Dover and Dolly's one, he's done a 2-hour one tonight. We've listened to 2 hours of I mean, we haven't listened to 2 hours of him. I've skipped through some of his nonsense, but the videos, but I've been talking a lot as well. Like, absolute fucking nonsense. And he's come to the final conclusion that the police in the early stages of the investigation were worried it might have been a suicide. And yes, that's like, you could have just, if you open up like a Wikipedia page on Nicola Bulley, it will say, in the early stage of the investigation, police thought it may have been a suicide. Like, what are you trying to, like, what? All this for that?
About HRT, the menopause, the drink, the problems she was having with life itself, very existence of life itself. They pick up the report day one, they read it, they make a phone call to the health professional, Levy. She tells them that Nicola said she doesn't want to be here anymore, and that instantly means, because she didn't leave the field, she fell in the water. Either because she's under the influence of drink, which I think she was, or she no longer wanted to be here.
So in the inquest, why didn't Levy say in her reports that the police have called me on day one of the investigation and I told them that I thought she was suicidal? Why didn't that come up? Because that part of your fantasy didn't happen. They didn't call up the mental health. The police don't like, hello, hotline through to the mental health professionals, please. Oh, what, are they busy out doing their fucking jobs? No, get them in. I need to talk to them now. We've got an investigation going. It's day one and I need answers. Like, they would have probably just, if anything, they would have flagged up on their computers, Nicola Bulley, oh yeah, we went to a welfare check, look, it's come up on our computers, and they would have checked through the literal notes from the police that was there and made the notes. But whether they got on the phone to the health, and she said to them, yeah, that Nicola Bulley, oh, she was trying to top herself, she was. And like, Alan starts this is what Alan's all like. Like, by 3 times round this story, it will turn into the mental health professional was scared. Like, this is how News of the World and these people operate. Like, you go around the story 3 times, you turn it into like mental health professional was anxious over Nicola Bulley's life. Mental health professional flagged warnings early. Like, you know, it like takes a very simple, sincere thing and turns it into this big conflagration of nonsense. And what he's done tonight in his study group is say that the family should have thought she'd been abducted, and the reason they didn't think she'd been abducted is because they thought she topped herself. But they did a media appeal to try and get her back, thinking that she probably topped herself, and the police thought she probably topped herself. I've just said it in like 5 minutes, like, oh, all the facts need to be verified and proved for you to just say that, I'm afraid. Yeah, and Alan's proved and verified them all tonight. But what and why, and it seems like a real weird departure from his actual content on Nicola Bulley that said slightly different things to this, to sort of sum up in this way. But I suppose what he's doing is pointing fingers at the police and saying they didn't do their jobs properly, as, you know, a subtext. Is it me being stupid and not following what he's trying to say to me?
And that's why I believe that you got the message, a strong message. Our hypothesis is that Nicola fell in the water. There's no third-party involvement and no suspicious circumstances, because that's what they always say in these cases. And because she never left the field, but she entered it, what are they going to think? The dog's left on its own, so she's in the water. The dog's on her own, so she's in the water. She left. Where'd she go? There's no CCTV. She entered, but she didn't leave. Her dog's on its own. She's a drinker. She slipped in.
That is the premise of the Nicola Bulley case. And that's, you know, day one, the premise of the Nicola Bulley case is that that's what appeared to have happened, but they couldn't find her body, and then questions started to be asked. And then people did interviews and started to look sus. And hello, welcome to 2023. It's now September. Like, what? How has he spent so long saying such a small amount? Alan is a pathetic waste.
And that's their hypothesis. And now you know. The elephant in the room.
There's another elephant.
Is that they all believe that she was having problems with life.
Except it wasn't an elephant in the room, because they spoke about it publicly in the... not only have you got access to this information about the report into the welfare check, but in the press conference before she was found, in the press conference, the police cast aspersions over her by saying that she was basically hormonal and drunk, and we all didn't like that. Like, you know, it's not that you've cracked some sort of case here. It's like you're going over old ground, but presenting it as if it's some new revelation.
Sometimes Occam's razor, the simplest reason is it.
Oh, it's a study group he's teaching us. Yeah, sorry, I forgot.
And the reason that you might think...
Hang on, let me hear about Occam's razor again.
Is that they all believe that she was having problems with life. That's it. Sometimes Occam's razor, the simplest reason is it. And the reason...
The simplest reason is it.
That you might think that they have all sorts of reasons to say she's in the water. It's as simple as that. It's basic police procedure laid out in the College of Policing annuals. You open page 1. If a person is vulnerable, you make it high risk, and you make a big effort to find her. Why do you think they called all the divers in day 1?
Because they thought she was in the river.
Believed that she was in the water. Why do they believe that? Not abducted? Because she has health issues.
Not abducted. Like, if one of your family members that was not suicidal was missing and was last seen by the river, you would fucking want them to search the river. Whatever, you know, whatever else was done and said later on about their mental well-being, you would want them to search the river, like, straight off. Can you start checking in there? Because if she's in there now, get her out. It's just like, what? That was one of the things that troubled me most about Paul Ansell as well. oh, we found the dog, you know, we're down by the river, the river here, we've got the dog, and, you know, you're on the scene, and we're going to check. And he said, I went running off looking over bushes to see if she was anywhere I could find her over some bushes. And I mean, I don't want to be morbid, but at some point you would have been waist deep in that fucking freezing cold water yourself if you love that woman. Like, just, you know, just to be sure, up and down to the weir and back or whatever, you know, can I be sure that she's not in here? Like, we've all said it, we've all talked about it in the past. I'm going over old ground myself now.
And because they have no CCTV of her leaving the fields. If you enter the fields but don't leave, if your dog's found on its own, I'm not surprised the police thought she was in the water. And that's where they were using their police procedure, which is correct. They were
Wait, you're now saying they were correct? This is gaslighting. We spend 2 hours talking about stuff. I no longer understand what your point really is. I no longer understand which side of the argument you're on. I no longer understand why we're talking about it. And then tomorrow you'll tell me, oh, this is a fact. Remember, yesterday I said this. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. You know, have whatever you want. Mentally, I am tired of your bullshit. That's gaslighting. So confused. Yeah. I think Alan's confused. I'm confused. Everyone else should be. Alan's study group is Alan's gaslighting exercise. It's fucking ridiculous. You stupid narcissist, Alan.
assessment was correct. Their main hypothesis was so correct it couldn't be more correct. She dropped the kids off at school. She entered the fields. She never left the fields. There's no proof she left the fields. There's lots of proof that she has problems drinking and menopause, and there's water, and it's muddy. And their hypothesis has got to be that she slipped and fell, or she did it on purpose. It can't be anything else. It's got to be day one, and that's why they were so darn convinced themselves that that's what happened. That was the elephant in the room sorted out. But trouble is, there's a massive great hippopotamus in the room now instead of the elephant. Where was she for all those weeks?
But what you're saying is they didn't rule out foul play on day one because they were stone sold that she was a victim of her own suicide. But is that completely correct? I would have liked them to do a more forensic examination of the crime scene. I was angry at the time they didn't establish it as a crime scene because no crime was committed, was it? But the police do assure us that they did investigate this. You know, I don't think that, again, I don't think it's fair to jump on the scene of the crimes and say, right, abduction, right this, right that, right murder. Like, although I kind of did jump on the scene and say, right, murder. Not on day one. I don't think I said that, did I? Well, when Paul did his interview, I said, look at that man. He seems fucking dodgy. I think he's probably done it. So that was the day that I decided Paul done it.
If the hypothesis is right, they see her on CCTV, enter the field, she doesn't leave. The dog's found. She would never leave the dog on its own unless she's in the water. She's in the water.
What about this? If their hypothesis is right, they expect to find her within 24, 48 hours that they begin searching. Sad as tragic as it is, they expect to find her. And if they don't find her, they have to widen their search and other options become more urgent, which is why the appeal for dashcam was so important, because dashcams might not have caught Nicola Bulley on the side of the road, but might have caught all the other traffic. And so if you've got one car going one way and another car going another, and you've got the dashcam on all that, you can see the traffic going one way, because as they drive along the entirety of the road, all the traffic will go past them on the other side for a certain period of time, and you can actually decide how many cars and which cars were on that road at what time, with enough dashcam footage that overlaps over time. So they were pretty adamant that they wanted dashcam footage. So maybe that's the process, Alan. Maybe on day one, they don't kick into gear with the fucking SWAT teams going out kicking people's doors in case she's been abducted. And maybe on day, we didn't find her in the river and now we're widening our search and other questions. And maybe it's important that you find evidence to suggest things like an abduction. And that's why I was saying that I was always questioning whether she made it to the field in the first place. But it seems now through the inquest that she did make it to the field. I was always questioning whether that was just a decoy that went around the field, whether it was someone dressed as her. I don't know if that question still stands, but yeah, without any sufficient evidence to suggest there's been an abduction, I don't think you can sort of point fingers at the police and say they didn't do enough to prove it was an abduction or to follow that up as a lead. Because I think they would try to. I think they were trying to. I think they were like, they're the police. You think they're not going to sniff around that, like the possibility of a crime? You don't think they were going to be interested? I think that I do actually sit on a different side of the fence here to Alan in terms of the police and their investigation. I don't think they're funded well, and I don't think they're given enough resources, and I think it was easier and cheaper if she would just turn the fuck up. I think it was much easier and cheaper if they could have found her quickly, and I think an extensive investigation about an abduction that might never end, a lot more expensive, and an expensive land search, mass search on land. They brought in volunteer parties to help, so resources are run and pushed thin, aren't they? And then when the case blew up, maybe some more resources and a different lead investigator was thrown at it. But I don't critique the police for not thinking there may have been foul play, and I don't necessarily critique them for not finding that evidence of foul play enough to push further that direction down the investigation and find further stuff. Because none of us could we, from what we saw? Like, have you got any other lines of inquiry you think the police should have taken, Alan? I would have liked them to have searched the caravan park more forensically, and I would have liked them to have searched the area around the bench more forensically, and I would have liked them to search Nicola's house more forensically, and also Marsh Farm more forensically. But none of that happened, and we're here.
She slipped or she did it on purpose. That's it. They weren't going to listen to anything else. There was no abduction theory. That was it. But the trouble is, when they replaced the elephant in the room, which was, everybody thought, well, why are they saying she's in the water? I've just told you why. You now know why. You now know why they thought she's in the water.
You now know. What? Who's he talking to?
And it's quite logical thinking to see why they thought she was in the water. And I believe they're right to think she was in the water. They're right. But once you take out the elephant, you've got the hippopotamus. Why was she missing so long? Okay, you got rid of the elephant, but you've got a hippopotamus now. And that is to be continued on the next edition of the Nicola Bulley study group. Where was she all those weeks? Will be the next episode. Thank you for watching On Detective. We've had a good 2 hours. Thank you, Spanish, for staying so long, but I wanted to get to it bit by bit so I could conclude that I want to mend some fences with the police. Police, I understand why you thought she went in the water now. I get it. By studying police procedures, I get it.
So you mean you've changed your own opinion through the course of your episode?
And you followed it to the letter of the law, and you're right. The trouble is with being right, you're wrong as well. Because how can she fall in the water and not be found? I'll leave you with that to dwell on for the next edition of the Nicola Bulley study group. Thank you for your time. Good night.
Oh, wow. I can't believe we got through that. I hope he's not done a Patreon. It's brought up another interesting conversation, and I think, if I start having them, then I'm doing Nicola Bulley content myself, and we've definitely taken a break from that, a breather, and I have got other things to say about it. So, and I made a couple of points, but then lots of people have got it's not hard to say after the inquest, is it? Because we went through the inquest, didn't we? So I've said my piece on that as well, about whether they should have found her and things like that. I've got a couple of different conclusions to talk about in the future. I wanted to have Eddie on first, really, and to sort of, talk things through with him. So look out for that in the future, which I'm still hoping to do, even if I'm terrible at replying to emails and looking at them. We're trying to get the MIMP squad. We've got a new email system where the MIMP squad are going to help me. So maybe we can get these things rolling. But I just think Alan's next content on Nicola Bulley is going to be even worse. What's he going to say about where she was? Because he doesn't fucking know. And what's he going to, for me, the worst thing about it, that was pretty fucking imagine being like a critic of content, as I am, and having to review that. It was dire. And the worst thing about it is that it's already got 1,000 views, which means it will probably hit the 4,000 like some of these others. And what are people seeing in that? is it just that 4,000 people don't like him? And 0.2, you know, the 200 that might turn. There's not even that. In his chat, there's 17 or 20. Everyone else watches it because they hate him. Or are there people that are that, like, whatever you'd call it, that they think that was good? Because I've just taken you through it. It wasn't good. It wasn't good. And I'm not hurt by this. You know, Adam's got people that watch him. I'm surprised. Like, it's one of those things where you're surprised by the state of humanity. Do you know what I mean? And like you think, wow, it's like seeing some trash, like discarded trash at a beauty spot, and you think, who's left that? Like, who's left their fucking McDonald's bag here? Like, sometimes I despair with humanity. Like, there's a fucking bin up there, and they've left, like, this is a natural beauty spot. We're all here to enjoy, and there's someone's left the fucking. It's like going up the park and someone's left their dog poo. And you're like, in today's day and age, at the park where we all go and we all walk, and like, you're going to come here again. There used to be one at my road. Like, this guy obviously walked the same route with his dog because the dog poo kept turning up. But you're going to walk there as well, so don't leave it on the fucking path, you twat. Like, you walk there. This is your place that you live as well. Like, we share it, and I'm angry, but like, just, if you're regularly walking around here, why not just tidy the fuck up? Like, I despair of humanity sometimes. It's a feeling like that. Like, that the people that watch his stuff are the equivalent of a piece of like, no offense to anyone who's non-ironically watching his stuff, but I feel like, what are you doing? Like, you must know that's bad. It's been 2 hours of nothing, loads of questions. He left us with the conclusion that, like, the police hold things back is what he's trying to say. And what they tried to hold back was that they thought she was suicidal early on. And then they actually explicitly said that at some point. And the reason they hold these things back is basically because they're sensitive. But Alan has no concept of that because, you know, inside he doesn't feel properly, or he does, but he doesn't allow himself to explore those feelings properly, and he doesn't react in the right ways because he's a fucking narcissist. So a real weird misinterpretation of events. And he even got like some real solid notes that he was given to help keep him on track. I rate that like a 0 out of 10, that episode. I really think it was bad. Like, I really think it was bad. Not lots of fun. Not lots of laughs for me today. Sorry about that. Slinky Socks did a video of all the fun things that I was doing. Maybe it was funny when I was taking the piss out of him for you, but for me, like, going over that old ground again like that, not good. Not good. You know, so like, the other thing that really strikes me, and I've been going over some of his old ground, looking at some of the Chris Watts stuff recently, and like, that makes me unhappy because I have to watch Chris Watts talking about these horrible events and picture and imagine these horrible events, and I need some sort of decompression after that. You know, it's not like, you know, it leaves you feeling a bit unhappy and uncomfortable. You have to reset yourself with the world, go for a dog walk, like, you know, not focus on this horror all the time. And for these cases, like, because we sort of lived, in inverted commas, sorry to use that expression in a way, but, you know, we went through that Nicola Bulley case at the time. You know, we followed it, and then, you know, it was very tragic. Very tragic. It was always tragic, even when I was joking about her murder, but it wasn't confirmed that she was dead when I was joking about her murder. Although I was pretty fucking convinced that she fucking was, to be honest. So I still bad, but, you know, still inappropriate for some of my jokes maybe. But, like, what Alan's done is miles worse tonight, because he hasn't revisited that with any sense of self-reflection, emotion, you know. Like, one of the things Eddie does so well that connects with the audience is Eddie sounds like, and this is good for some of the other true crime channels that succeed and they connect with their audience, is that they sound authentic. Like, Eddie is authentic. He sounds authentic. And the emotions and responses he has to the events that he's covering, sometimes he's talking about ideas and theories and Nicola Bulley stuff, but it's always laced with emotion and sentiment and the emotion and sentiment that we also resonate with and reflect, because that's the same way a lot of us feel. But Alan doesn't have that in his content, and God help him if he tries to put it in. But you know what I mean? It lacked a certain something, and that was his feelings, his like his remorse over events, or like ability to perceive that what he's doing is disgusting. Taste, decency. It failed. Taste and decency, you know? Alan is not a decent man. I think we'll cut that for YouTube there, but obviously I'm going to keep streaming now, but there's that cut for YouTube. Cut. I covered it. You all wanted it. I covered it. It's just, I noticed, you know, when I did this joke about we could play the old stream, it is the same as what was going on 4 months ago. So I really don't think in the going forward in my mind that I want to keep, like, if Alan does the study group week in, week out, yeah, I am not going to do that week in, week out, because I cannot spend my life going over the same argument repeated. Like with Dark Side Field, the argument evolves, the content evolves. With Alan, he seems to have regressed and gone into his shell, and in some way it makes him slightly safer from my my focus and my content. If he's not being so dramatic and he doesn't talk about super stuff, he's making a concerted effort to do it, so, you know, kudos to him for that, I suppose. But for me also, I don't want to, like, he will inevitably just repeat and regurgitate, but I'm not going to. Like, you will get Alan content when I feel like it, but the more and more I'm watching that, like, I'm telling you, if he does that every week for Nicola Bulley, I'm not going to be watching it every week, and nor should anyone else. It's a disaster waiting to happen. I mean, it's a slow car crash happening before our eyes. I suppose that's why people watch it. Like, in a way, I kind of want to encourage him to... I really think we should be talking together on a stream. You know, two people that don't like each other in the media, and they're not talking together on a stream and having a bit of a whatever, whether it be an argument, a joke, a laugh, a fucking debate, a game of poker, whatever. You know, he's missing a trick there, but he's too much of a coward, so that's that. But, like, in some ways I feel like I should be saying to Alan, like, oh, you know, play up. You know, let's have a bit more argy-bargy back and forth, because it makes fun content for me. But in other ways, I feel like I'm quite welcome to say to Alan, just fucking carry on with it like that. Just you do that. You do you. It's awful. I've explained why it's awful. I don't have to keep going back to the park and looking at the dog shit to know there's dog shit in the park. Like, I'm happy with dog shit being in the park. I'm not happy with it, but I can accept it and move on with my life. And I'm not down the park screaming and yelling and throwing dog shit around. You know? Like, it reminds me of the Bin Bin analogy as well, with Val and the ongoing war with Bin Bin. Like, you know, I know that Bin Bin is a dog shit. I know that she's in the park. I'm not going to go down the park and throw it around. Like, I'm going to live my life, and it doesn't hurt me. Like, obviously sometimes I'm like, oh, that's bad. But like, overall, I can just walk in the rest of the park and not focus on the dog shit. You know, I can live my life without that hurt in my heart because people are dog shits. So that's the sort of way I feel about that as well. So, like, Alan doesn't win on either account there. I've already beaten him. That's why he's in his shell. That's why he's doing this. And for him, his content is going to be shit. But I want laughs. You know, I want laughs. That's what I want more than anything. So me covering this, I feel it. I understand the energy that's in me. You know, where's the laughs? We need more laughs. And there are people out there that, you know, provide more laughs. Is Alan a lol cow that is not providing the lols? Is that what's happening? Is that what's happening? What's your vid? Is it laughs? How do I find that? You think Frankie's knocking on his door in real life? Interesting. You think Frankie's really coming for him? You're right, Michelle. We cared, and Alan doesn't care. And that's why he finds it so easy to make so much content about it, which is a weird irony, isn't it? The people that care don't make as much content about it. Like, you notice he said he took a break, and like, you know, when that inquest came, it was like, if you didn't feel it as some sort of emotional moment, like finding her body, the inquest, like, you know, the answers, whether they were right or wrong and you agree with them or not, there was definitely emotion that goes through it, and it's a process, and you feel some sense of completion of a process. Even if you have questions and further conversations, you know that they're not coming from that inquest anymore. You know, whatever we can draw from it and talk about in the future, yes, but that doesn't have to be done the next day. You know, you can have some time to deal with your emotions and let things breathe, so to speak. In the, you know, even that's a bad terminology for someone who apparently died in the water, but the I know there's a gap in Alan's content as well. You know, he left a gap between when he did it and now, but it's just yeah, he doesn't feel it, so he doesn't care, so he can just fucking rant about it every day for a week if he wants. And he's emailed Ellie Arquette, nice one. I hope they don't think that it's just some nutter pretending to be me. I hope they understand that it is actually me. I should make a little video. Hi, this is Scott. You've been sent an email by the mods team. It is definitely me. Don't think they're nutters. Yeah, AD is an example of a psychopathic, lying, bullying narc, yeah. That's why I think he might be the Bristol pusher as well. Like, if anyone wants, if you are interested in things and want to do research, right, check this one out. Do some research on this. Bristol pusher. It comes up with an article, The Independent. Is a pusher serial killer targeting Bristol after 4 bodies recovered in 4 months? This was 2017. So what was Alan doing in May 2017? Or the 4 months preceding that? Was he pushing people in the river in Bristol? There's a question. You can find out about these victims in this article. It's a armchair detective case that you could take up. It's a case that you could, if you want to follow up on that. Like, can you cross-reference Alan's behaviour and, you know, whatever in those dates? Was he on the internet in 2017? I don't think he was he? So, and then since then he's moved to Exmouth. So the next question that is like high on my questions list is Exeter, which is a nearby town. River deaths. So 2 bodies found in Exeter in 1 day. This man's celebrating his birthday and died in the river. There are people that die in the river. Could it be that Alan has moved and the pusher has turned up in Exeter? There's some questions. Because he even had a live stream, didn't he, where he said, I'm so angry I would go out and murder someone, didn't he? He did a live stream where he was dressed and he was so angry he went out and murdered someone, he said. And he said tonight on his live stream that, you know, you push someone in the river and then they're dead. Like, you know, he even said it himself. You know, he's yeah, there's a question for you sleuths out there. It has my links at the bottom of the email. Yeah, fair enough, but like anyone could set up an email, can't they? I hope that people understand that it really is me. Like, I mean, how would they know it really is me otherwise? Like, they wouldn't, would they? Because I'd be emailing them from a different email address and it would just say, hi, it's me. So it would just be weird. Like, I don't know. Red Mist. I think Alan, I don't know if he was really angry that he did it, but I think he liked doing the murdering. He was that angry on that fucking video, and he was dressed up like a murderer loads of times. There's just a thing, anyway. There's just a thing. That can go. We've watched that video. I was watching that earlier. That's my Twitter. That's Super Chuffer for you. There is a new video on Super Chuffer. No, that's Super Clifford. There's a new video on Super Chuffer for you as well. There will be continued new videos on there. But everyone that's watching here now has already subscribed to Super Chuffer for you. So this is like my Twitch stuff clipped and put on there. There's a new video there now, 10 hours old. It needs a push. We'll have to push it another time. But I need to get on and play some more Genshin Impact now. I'm not stopping. You think I'm stopping? 5.5 hours, 6 hours in. I'm certainly not stopping because my game of Genshin Impact that we were all here to see me play, that we all love so much, was left in hiatus. And I can't save it and just bin it off. I've got to complete the fucking mission. So I'm sorry about this, everyone, but I'm on here for hours now.
Yeah, so are the verdicts reliable or not? Can results like this really be called just